cubers, both one and two-handed. We're ready for the next round of 3x3 one-handed. And don't forget at the side stage, hall 4, there will be FMC round 1.
It is 9:20 a.m. The sun is shining, and we are here for day 1 of the European Championship in Arnhem in the Netherlands. How are you feeling, Henry?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. You know, what an amazing place to hold a European Championship, and what a fantastic city this is. You know, we're in the small corner of Netherlands down here in the south of the country, and it just feels like the atmosphere, although it is Thursday morning, it is slowly building up, and that is exactly what we want. You know, OH round 1 is underway, and there's plenty of action already to go through so far this morning, but we're going to go straight to the action, and there's 2 key players that we want to look at straight away. And who are those exactly, Elena?
So in this group coming up, we have Ioannis Costinkele from Romania. He is our 6th seed at this competition, paired with Magnus Lench, our 12th seed, but the reigning OH champion from 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 ones to look out for. Obviously, Ioannis is holding 2 W11 R11 places, so he currently holds the single W11 and average W11. He is seeded 6th as well. Got a PR single of 6.35 and an average of 8.37. Got a chances to win here at 3% and a chance to podium at 18%. So definitely one to look out for. Obviously, only 15 years of age, so a lot of experience already competing-wise, but obviously it'll be a big test for him. You know, being such a young age and this sort of pressure at a European Championship, you're never going to, you know, come in with an open frame of mind. You're always going to have those little bit of nerves. So it's all sort of, can he, you know, contain his nerves? Can he build himself towards that pressure? You know, we'll see that throughout the weekend.
Absolutely. We've seen so many younger competitors at these competitions, and they handle the pressure in such different ways. Some of them thrive on it, some of them break down from it. It will be great to see how Ioannis handles this championship.
I want to talk about Magnus as well for a second. WR56 and average WR21, 12 seeded coming into this competition. A PR single is 7.14, PR average of 8.67, and a chance to podium at 7%. Obviously not one of the main people we're going to be looking out for this weekend, but definitely from your side, Eleanor, it's someone that, you know, could possibly challenge for the final.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's already proved himself at the 2024 European Championship, taking that gold place. Whether he's able to pull out another fantastic performance this weekend to snatch another podium, still to be decided.
Obviously plenty of action going on our orange stage at the moment. A few notable names, as we can see, going up competing now at the moment. Obviously a lot to go through this weekend, especially as we are in the opening stages of the competition. How are you feeling ahead of just the weekend in general, Eleanor? Just talk us through, you know, your emotions and, you know, what sort of preparation has gone into this competition for yourself?
So there's been so much work that's gone into it, from the volunteers to the competitors. I've seen so much just sheer practice and practice and practice from our amazing competitors here. People have been learning new alg sets, they've been learning new techniques, and they've been doing whatever they can to try and knock those milliseconds off those times, because that's ultimately what matters, and we're going to see so many podiums today come down to that 0.01 second difference.
I think people know in cubing especially that every millisecond counts in this, like any event at all. And I feel like whenever you step into that, like, we step onto an average or you go into a solve, you know, even the tiniest lockups can cost you podium positions. It can cost you a win, for example. And we've seen that so many times before, haven't we?
Yeah, we've seen that a billion times. We're seeing Magnus up now. Magnus, our reigning champion. I'm sure Magnus will be hoping for another podium this weekend, but he doesn't seem especially happy with that solve at 9.76.
You might see many people at this competition. There's two main methods that people will be using this weekend. You might see people using their M-slice instead, like Magnus has just done there, but you'll also see people using the standard C-FOP as well. It'll be interesting to see the mix of C-FOP and Ru and whether, you know, which one can come out on top this weekend, Eleanor.
Absolutely, because we have seen this kind of race between Ru and C-FOP the past few years. We've seen Ru's dominance, and then we've seen a return with some world records set with C-FOP. Magnus, of course, reigning champion using Ru. Whether we could see a champion this year with C-FOP, that'd be amazing. As a C-FOP fan, I'd love to see the comeback of C-FOP.
I think it'll be very interesting just to see the contrast between both methods. I think, for me especially, Ru does seem like the early pace setter because, you know, you've got plenty of people at this competition who are using Ru. For me personally, I don't want to use my home bias, but Nicholas Archer of Great Britain, former world record holder, as we know, is a Ru solver. You know, what can we expect from him this weekend, Eleanor?
I think that Nicholas Archer is definitely one to look out for because he handles his nerves really well. It's like that guy just can't, it's like it doesn't even faze him at all. You can't see a single expression on his face showing an ounce of anxiety or stress or anything, whereas a lot of these other competitors don't seem to be able to handle their nerves quite like Nicholas Archer can.
I feel like from experience as well, like knowing Nicholas and competing with him and just working alongside with him sometimes, you know, he deals with situations so well, and I think that's such a fantastic trait to have. Obviously, was part of the World Championship finals just last year in Seattle, and obviously, you know, having that sort of final experience, you know, he's obviously been in many a UK Championship final. He won the UK Championships one-handed last year, and obviously he's going to be in big contention for it this year. But we know for exactly, as we can see a few people, you know, going up to compete their souls. We've got Ryan Eckersley also in contention. You might see Ryan in the big blind events later this weekend, but obviously there's a lot to think about this weekend, isn't there, Eleanor?
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of contenders we have for the OH title. Nicholas Archer, of course, our top contender. They've placed him at a 47% chance of winning, so just under 50% chance for Nicholas Archer. But we do also have some other big names like Dhruva Saimaruva, the former world record holder. He is, I believe, a C-FOP solver. So we'll once again have that C-FOP versus Ru battle play out in the finals today, hopefully.
The one person I also want to point out, obviously my British bias kicking in again, we'll point out two actually, Louis Di Mendonca and Joseph Briggs. Obviously, two have competed in the UK quite constantly and, you know, have put up some good times as of recent. They might be pushing the finals, but, you know, we can obviously see throughout this weekend, but, you know, obviously, you know, there's a lot of big name players, you know. You've got Andre Shea, Juliet Sebastian, you know, you've got Magnus Lencher, we said, Alexei Svetkov, all of those names that, you know, we could be seeing potentially across this weekend. Just see Ianis here, just at the front. 9.71 from him. Didn't seem exactly happy with that.
No, he doesn't, because I think he knows that 9.71 is not what you need to cut it here at the championship.
Obviously, it being round one, there's not exactly many expectations. We are expecting many of the top players to make it through to round two. Progression-wise, we are looking at the top 125 on the psych sheet. That is about a mid-12 second average. So for most of these competitors towards the top end of the table, we are expecting them to make it through. But as you know, anything could happen, Eleanor. Anything could happen.
Anything can happen, and that is the beauty of cubing.
Right, well, we'll look at elsewhere as we got plenty of action coming up between now and the end of the day. We do have Nations Cup coming up later this evening, and that is going to be something that, you know, I feel like every cuber wants to have a look at and just, you know, just even if you're not competing, just watch it and just feel the excitement, just, you know, take over this entire venue. Absolutely.
Nations Cup is the fireworks of the first day. There is so much electricity in the room during it. Of course, our reigning champions are Team UK.
No bias for me whatsoever, but they're coming back strong again this year. Very, very strong. A team of James Alonso, Caleb Wolfdun and Monty Fox, two of which could be making 3x3 finals later this weekend on Sunday evening. So definitely a pair and a trio, in all fairness, to look out for.
Yeah, we have some other fantastic teams. We have Team Germany. They have, I think, both of the Via brothers are competing on that team.
I think the main one to look out for, however, is Team Poland. Team Poland are definitely lining up strong this year. I think you might know all the people who are getting involved in that side. You know, you've got the likes of Timon, you've got the likes of Olaf. You know, you've got so many people in that Polish team who even in that trio can fully just go and, you know, slot straight in and wouldn't really look out of place, Eleanor.
Yeah, so Poland, of course, top seed. They've beaten out Team UK in second seed, then Germany for 3. So that is our top 3 seeds. Also high up we have the Netherlands with Twan Dillemond, Mika Schmolders and Anthony Patarakis, all of which are pretty big names in the cubing scene.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at, especially, and you know, as we said, this is competitive speedcubing and anything could happen. We've seen it plenty of times before, and we've seen upsets in the Nations Cup before. So as we've said, you know, although it's down to some of the best competitors in the world to, you know, get those results, it's more down to, you know, on the day what happens during the solve. You know, we could see, for example, a team like Israel make it all the way. You know, we could see something like that happen.
Yeah, anything can happen in Nations Cup, and the thing with Nations Cup is that you don't get an average. There's not this bad solve which doesn't count. Every single solve counts. So one mess up and that is your team out of the running. So there is so much room for upsets in the Nations Cup, but to me, that I think is the most exciting part about it.
100%, and we'll be looking forward to that later this evening. Just wanted to point out a few things. We've got Dylan Miller just at the front of our screens as well, so definitely one to look out for. One of several United States competitors coming over to the Netherlands for this weekend. You know, there's plenty of people who are here. Luke Garrett, Patrick Ponce. You know, even though it's a European Championship, we're attracting many international names, aren't we, Eleanor?
We are, absolutely, because anyone can come to this championship, and especially for the foreign competitors, while they don't have the pressure of competing for the title, they're still getting in that experience of competing on the international stage. They can then take that experience and then bring it back to their local continental championship, and that's just another big stage under their belt for them.
Exactly that, and you can see how it works as well. You know how Timon's obviously been over in Asia, competing in the Asian Championships, and obviously there's loads of competitors who are now starting to try and, you know, test themselves abroad, and that's sort of what you can bring back to the table here in the European Championships if you are a European competitor. Right, we'll just take you through the solves here. So you might see, for your new time watchers here for Speedcubing, that we are currently on the one-handed event. Basically, and quite obviously, you might know that you have to solve the cube one-handed, but this is how it sort of works. There's 2 main methods that people will use. As we can see on screen at the moment, we are going to see Ianis to our right-hand side, so we'll obviously walk you through one of his solves as well. I believe he is a dominant CFOP solver. So CFOP for us, it might be a little bit standard. Solve the cross, F2L, and then 2 algorithms to solve your last layer. So this is how it sort of works. You'll see 2 of either side of you. Obviously, you'll watch them build a cross of any choice of colour, and then that will match up. And then what they'll do is they'll build the first 2 layers simultaneously as they both go together. Then they'll obviously make 1 algorithm to put all of the last colour on top, and then do 1 algorithm to solve the rest of the cube. As we can see here on your right-hand side, one of our solvers doing the CFOP method there is he goes in towards PLL, which is permutating the last layer, 1 algorithm, and that should fully take that solve to the end. A little bit of mess up there, 2193, and obviously on our left-hand side, a little bit of a slower solve, but that's sort of, you know, it's the more popular method, isn't it, Eleanor?
It is. So CFOP versus Ru, pros and cons on both sides. I'd say the biggest thing that CFOP has going for it is simply its popularity. So most people, when they first learn 3x3, they learn with the CFOP method. The beginner method is a variant of CFOP. Then when they become one-handed mains, they still have all of that skill set and algorithms that they know from 3x3 using CFOP. They've then got a big decision to make of whether they want to hone in on that CFOP method, learn more one-handed algorithms for CFOP, or to switch entirely to a completely new method like Ru, which has fewer moves and is more optimized for one-handed, but at the expense of all of that practice that they've got on CFOP.
I think obviously you've got to look at the move count there. Obviously every move counts, and you know, the lower the move count you have on any solve, obviously it's going to, you know, play a big part in your finishing time. But obviously, you know, seeing as CFOP is, let's say, so dominant in that sort of regard, you're going to have, so many people using it. But I feel like at the moment, Ru is sort of taking over the one-handed scene at the moment.
It is. We are seeing that top 100 one-handed results become increasingly more and more Ru. I think as people realise that there are so many optimizations that you can do in Ru, and it is ultimately, I would say, a better method for one-handed. But CFOP doesn't lag that far behind, which means that if you've practiced really hard on CFOP, you can easily beat other Ru solvers. And right now we just saw a drop from one of our CFOP solvers.
Quite a dramatic drop too in that regard as well, but obviously it looks like he's given up there, but well done for him to finish in the Saber, 38, but in all fairness, it's not a bad time considering the drastic drop he had from there. Obviously we'll go over to our next competitors as well. Obviously another Ru solver here. You'll see it, you can tell the difference between Ru and CFOP is at the end of the solve, a lot of the competitors using Ru will use the M slices, and the M slices is just the middle layer which people turn, and obviously if people are using the middle layer, they're solving both the last edges simultaneously all together. So that's exactly, if you're looking for a Ru solve, you'll be seeing that towards the end of a solve in most scenarios.
The turning styles are so different. So with Ru, obviously, you need to have that middle layer super free, so you're constantly able to turn for those M moves. With CFOP, on the other hand, you'll often see lots and lots of quick turning, obviously, to account for the high move count. Often you'll see a lot of rotations, but there's kind of a speed to CFOP turning, whereas with Ru, it tends to be a little slower, a little more steady, and a bit fewer moves.
I think you might see here that a lot of competitors are using the table. Though a lot of first-time viewers might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, you can't really use the table, can you? But it is, in a way, encouraged, and especially with Ru, it plays into your advantage, doesn't it, Eleanor?
It is. I've heard some one-handed solvers refer to the table as your third hand. So when you're solving, you can use the table to stabilize those moves in the way that your left or your other hand might do if you were solving two-handed.
Obviously, a lot of Polish representation at the Euros this year, a very big country which has shown up in numbers again this year, and definitely want to look out for across a multitude of events this week.
Yeah, they're here not just, there are so many of them, but the ones who are here are so quick. We're seeing such Polish dominance across Europe lately. Stuff like 3x3, the 3x3 single held by a Polish competitor, Teodor Zajda. The Poles, I think, are going to have a lot of podium sweeps this weekend.
Oh, 100%. I want to just highlight one of those podium sweepers potentially we could see this week, as in Timofey Tarasenko, and definitely, in my eyes, one to look out for. Second at Euros 2024, he's the current Russian number one, although he isn't from Poland, but we are going to move away from that. He's the current Russian number one. He's the current mega world record average holder at 24.38, and he holds the current single and average European record. Although he's not from Poland, again, we want to watch and try and see a different variant of competitors. He's a 5-time Megamix world record holder. He's 4 times 6 and 7x7 ER average holder as well. He broke the Megamix ER average last Euros, going into the final, into the semi-final ultimately. Talk to us about Timofey and how you're really seeing him going up against most likely Timon in the final.
So it's always super interesting to see Timofey at competitions because he's not able to attend any in his own country, so he's always having to travel abroad to compete. That means he doesn't get many opportunities to compete, but every time he does, you see so much power from him. He comes out with these incredible solves, these records, every single time he goes to a competition. That means that every single competition is completely different for Timofey. We see so many great things from him, and so I'll be really interested to see how he performs this weekend. He did fantastic at the European Championship in 2024, but he lost his nerves in some of the rounds. In Megamix finals, you might remember that he, I think, got a bit nervous, and I would say that potentially cost him the win.
Yeah, let's go back to the Polishmen who are turning up this weekend. I want to highlight another two, Olaf Kosminski and Teodor Zajda. Olaf, I spoke to yesterday at pre-registration, and he has said, I am hungry, I'm up for this, I'm ready to go. And, he's got so many events. We saw him at UK Championships last season. He won the entire thing, even though he's not a UK competitor. He came first place and also at Wales, had a strong showing as well. Obviously, one of the first sub-5 singles of that weekend as well. Talk to us about Olaf and, how can you sort of how could he sort of translate his, local competitor experience from his recent times as of recent, and bringing that over to the European Championships?
So what's interesting about Olaf is that he is an absolutely incredible competitor. So he's ranked third in Europe, but third in Europe is also third in Poland because the top three are all Polish. So that means that on the Polish scene, while he might be third, in other countries third might not be that great. For Poland, third is still better than first for pretty much any other country. So Olaf going in with a sub-5 average, our third Polish competitor to have a sub-5 average of 4.95. But Olaf has never actually gotten a podium at a major championship. In fact, his last podium was Polish Championships in 2024. And that just really speaks to how incredible the Polish performance is, that such an absolutely top competitor like Olaf can barely even podium at his own Poland championship.
Okay, let's talk about Theodor now as well. Obviously, well known for his 2x2 exploits, but recently, he's broken the single 3x3 world record. The first sub-3 single. It's quite an achievement, isn't it, Eleanor?
It was an absolutely incredible achievement, especially for someone as young as Theodor. I mean, he's about this tall, and yet he comes out with the most incredible, spectacular solves. He has so much power and knowledge within him. And I think we'll see a really amazing performance, hopefully, from Theodor this weekend.
100%. If you are just joining us, welcome back to Arnhem. We are here at the WCA 2026 European Championships. And at the moment, we are currently on one-handed Group 3, as we are just going into now at the moment. We've already seen plenty of competitors so far. Who have we seen so far, and what have you made of their performances so far?
So we've seen Magnus Lensch, who is, of course, our reigning one-handed champion. He didn't seem super happy with his performance. It seemed like he got a 9-second average, and a 9-second average I don't think is going to cut it this weekend. So he is surely going to be wanting to improve that in the later rounds. We've also seen Yanis Kostin-Kele. He, I think, also got about an 8 or 9-second average. I've not seen anyone that I've watched and I've thought that is far and away the best. It seems like there's so much competition for that top spot in one-handed. Yeah,
we've got a lot of competitors still to come. Obviously, we are moving on to Group 3 of, I think, a few good groups as well. We've got, next up, coming up, we've got Patrick Ponce of the United States. Obviously, one to look out for, a former world record holder as well. Obviously, not in contention for any titles as an international competitor, but obviously talk to us about the rest of the competition that we could see challenging for a title later.
Yeah, so I think our main focus for this group will be Aiden Robinson-Rekevi from Switzerland. So he is our 5th seed, but he's been performing really well recently. By his latest 12 averages, he's actually placed 3rd seed. The statistics calculator has placed him at a 49% chance to podium and a 17% chance to win, which, we've seen rarer things happen.
Yeah, and I think, this is me personally. I love an outsider. I absolutely love an outsider. Whenever you come into competitions, I love seeing just unexpected podiums or unexpected wins. We saw a lot of that at Worlds. We saw a lot of that at the previous Euros, and it's definitely going to be if we see another one, for example, this weekend, which we are definitely going to see. Hopefully, fingers crossed. This is anyone's game.
Absolutely.
Every single event, it's anybody's game. That's the magic of major championship speedcubing. I'm really excited to see what could come later this week.
Yeah, there's so much room for upsets. So with those 5 solves, obviously the worst one doesn't count, but your second worst one, that's counting. And there's milliseconds, there's, a second in it between all of the top spots. Practice, it matters a lot, but so does your on-the-day performance, and one slip and you can be completely out of the running.
Yeah. Looks like we're back underway with 3x3 one-handed Group 3 as we're moving just across all 3 of the stages here in the main hall this afternoon. This venue is fantastic. There are multiple side rooms, and we got to check it out yesterday. Plenty of action everywhere in this building. Obviously, you've been here before now, if I remember.
Yeah, so they have used this venue for the Dutch National Championship for the past 3 years. It's been a really, really great space for those past couple of championships. It's been a massive space too, and the organisers looked at it and they thought, this will be the spot for this year's European Championship.
And to be honest with you, it looks fantastic. The city feels incredible. The heat that you're getting in is sort of like the UK heat wave has transferred over here to the Netherlands. You know, this is what you want. You know, the atmosphere, the weather. You know, everything of a good weekend is already lining up for us.
Absolutely, and of course, Sunday night we have got the football finale, which everyone will be watching after the championship.
I'll say some of us will be watching, especially after last night. I think we all saw the England result. And let's be honest with you, I'm not very happy. And to be honest with you, well, it's football, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, well, you know, it'll be definitely interesting to see the final on Sunday between Spain and Argentina. But let's get back to the cubing. That's what we are here for, especially. And I don't really want to be talking about England at the moment. But, you know, again, there's a lot to look through this one-handed event this weekend. Talk to us about some other top players that we might be having going on for us this weekend, Elena.
Yeah, so coming up in wave 4, we have Druva Sai Maruva. So Druva represents Switzerland. He has a personal record average of 8.11, which is actually really quite good. And he's been pulling out some incredible performances lately. By his most recent 12 averages, he is seeded 2nd. So he could absolutely clutch this. He's been put at a chance to win of 20%. I believe that's 2nd after Nicholas Archer. But like we were saying, it really is anyone's game. I could just as easily see a Druva victory this weekend as a Nicholas Archer victory.
Let's also look at some other competitors as well. We've got Jonas Philippa as well, a single WR16, average WR19, seeded 10th for this competition. What do you make of him and his chances this weekend, Eleanor?
So Jonas has been performing, I would say, well, but not quite at the best he could be lately. So he's been averaging 10.15 over the past 12 averages. That is about a 2nd slower than Druva, and that 2nd, I mean, it matters a lot. That 2nd is the difference between 10th and 1st.
We'll look at, you know, the results so far. We are midway through the round so far. So at the moment, as it stands, Valeria Locatelli currently leads the way, the Italian with a 9.87 average on top. Just in front of Alexei Svetkov of Russia, who's averaged a 10 flat at the moment as well, behind them Julian Sebastien of France with a 10.10 average. We're expecting about a mid-12 average to make it through. It's the top 125 that will make it through. So obviously not many at risk so far, but it looks like so far the top competitors just slowly easing into it.
Yeah, I mean, it is the first event of the day. The venue's a little bit hot. They're still acclimatizing, and their fingers aren't fully warmed up and ready to compete yet. So I think we'll be seeing, hopefully, some even more spectacular solves later on in round 2 of one-handed.
Exactly that. We've got plenty of people to still compete already this week. Let's go back to Jonas, for example. Obviously, a low podium chance for 7%, a chance to win a 1%. Again, another outsider. But, you know, is that someone who could be challenging for the final?
I think Jonas, I think he could definitely go in the final. Seeded 10th, and we've got 14 going into the final. That should be pretty easy for him, given no upsets.
Exactly that. Well, we'll have to see. Again, another example of just the CFOP on display here, as you can see, just going straight into a ZBL there, I believe, if he can just finish it off. I believe it's well, we didn't get to see the time there, but some competitors, it's 11.43 there from that man over there. But again, we're going to see little variations, aren't we, across the weekend? You know, some competitors are going to know different, you know, methods. Some people will know ZBLL, some people might not know ZBLL, some people might do 2 look last layer. So obviously, you know, a lot of variation that, you know, it can still make anyone anyone's game.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so much variation in that one-handed knowledge. So some people are using their usual 2-handed algorithms and simply doing them one-handed. Other people have specifically learned one-handed algorithms that are optimized for one-handed turning. Obviously, that does give them that couple of millisecond speed advantage, but at the expense of having to know dozens and dozens of more algorithms. Some people know ZBLL for 3x3 and might be able to apply that for one-handed, whereas other people are just using CFOP and using that pure turning and speed to counteract their, you know, slight disadvantage in terms of alg knowledge.
You may see also in this example, as you can see on screen, some people might solve their cross, for example, to the left or the right of their actual cube instead of having it on the bottom. Obviously, a 17-second solve from that man over there. But obviously, there's loads of variations that you can see, you know, at this weekend so far. Let's obviously talk about some more results. We've had Luke Garrett, who hasn't been on stream, the United States man, coming in with a 10.21 average, an 11-second solve, which just about cancelled out an 8 single. We all know about Luke Garrett. We all know about his capabilities, especially at major championships. You know, considered one of the best all-rounders in the world. Talk to me about Luke Garrett. You know, your sort of experiences with him and how you think he can fare this weekend.
So Luke is an absolutely fantastic competitor. He is presently ranked 2nd in the world for being an all-rounder. So that means that across all of the events combined, adding together all of his ranks, he's 2nd. And that means that he's actually incredible at lots of different events. One-handed specifically, he holds the average world record of 7.72. And he is also the reigning North American champion from just a week or two ago. He won the North American Championship with an average of 8.79, just about a second over his PR and also world record average.
Yeah, obviously a lot to talk about with Luke especially, and you know, basically his main events is, if you could basically consider it, it's basically everything in a way. For example, obviously he is colour neutral on 3x3, and we'll talk a little bit about colour neutrality in a little bit of a second. What sort of advantage does being colour neutral have for any solver at this sort of level? Yeah,
so colour neutrality means that if you look on one colour like white and it looks bad, you can then pivot to a different colour, say yellow, and that might have a completely different set of colours that's way better to start your solve on. So generally speaking, colour neutrality does give that big advantage. The downside, it's very hard to train, especially if you learn originally with just one colour, and also it means that you've got so many options to look at in your inspection. If you're just solving on white, then you've only got one option to explore. You've only got 6 if you're solving on all colours, and that's a lot of options to explore in just 15 seconds.
Yeah. Seen 2 quite notable cubers on screen there. One of the Portuguese delegates, Pedro, and then just recently Chris Mills, that you might have seen, a former, you know, European competitor, come from obviously from the UK originally. We haven't seen Chris in quite a while, in all fairness, and obviously he's, you know, one of his main events is 3x3, and you know, obviously one-handed might not be his strongest event, but he's definitely one of the, you know, top players, or someone to look out for, even though, and he will be joining us on the stream later this week. Obviously, talk to me about Chris and your experiences with him.
Yeah, so Chris is a lovely guy. He used to represent the UK, as you mentioned. Then a couple of years ago, he moved over to New Zealand, where he also is a dual citizen of. And now he is no longer eligible to become the European champion. He lives in New Zealand, but he's flown over all the way to the Netherlands to, I would say, you know, represent his other half of his nationality.
Just interrupt you there with Patrick Ponce just going on screen. Obviously a former world record holder with a 9.65 there. I believe it was a blue cross he started on there. And obviously that's sort of the benefits of colour neutrality, as we said. You know, you can look at any side of the cube, and obviously some people maybe, you know, it might be kind of different. Some people might be able only to do white. Some people might be able to do white and yellow. But that's the sort of benefit that colour neutrality has. You know, you can do any colour at any stage, and you know that can sort of reap the benefits for you if you see something good, for example, on a different colour that you might not be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with single colour, you see that variation, because more modern times people are learning to solve on the white face. But if you roll the clock back, you know, 10, 20 years, a lot of people were learning on other colours like blue and red, and they might only know one colour, and it might not be that classic white. That means that when they see the cube, they're essentially looking at a completely different solution to someone who can only solve on white. Exactly
that, and especially, you know, some of the competitors do other colours, not just the white and yellow as normally. For example, Kieran Bean is obviously one of our top players this weekend. If you might know on 3x3, he's only a green cross solver, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, it really comes down to those really early tutorials and what colour they learned on back then.
Obviously a lot to go through still this weekend. We'll just see if any other results have been inputted as well. We've got Kim Roger Haraldson of Norway creeping into that top 10 place with 11.79. Obviously, we don't think he's going to make anything. Johnny Morello Kurlaf of the United Kingdom, obviously of your native Scotland, coming in with a 10.81 as well. That should comfortably make it into round 2 with a top 125 into round 2. We are expecting around a mid-12 average to make it through. So most of the competitors within the top 5 or 6 at the moment, which includes Johnny and Juliet Sebastian and Alexei and Valerio, you know, are sort of just getting ready to get prepared for those later stages of the competition, aren't they?
Yeah, so when you are right at the top of this competition, getting into the second round should, touch wood, not be too difficult so long as nothing major happens. It's just a case of getting that solve time in front of the crowd, warming up and making sure that you don't do anything a bit too crazy like DNFing or, might I say, double DNFing, and that could put you out of the running.
Lovely 753 there just now. Obviously, again, another rule solver, and that's sort of the advantage of rule. You can use wide moves. They're encouraged in this sort of environment, and with the flexibility the one-handed has, you can sort of utilize wide moves with which is moving 2 layers at a time instead of just the one, and sort of make the solves easier for you in a way. And especially with Rue, when when you get to the block building stage and sort of you've got to be a little bit creative, that's where you sort of get the best part of your solve.
Yeah, so turning is one of the most important things in one-handed in a way that doesn't quite apply so much to the other events. These one-handed competitors are really honing in and fine-tuning their turning. They are practicing with turning with their pinky, with turning with wide moves. As you said, there are so many optimizations that you need to make to solve it as efficiently as you can with just one hand.
Got Sacha Bavish-Gala on screen as well. Obviously Dad is one of the volunteers at the competition this weekend, and obviously a native UK competitor to us. And obviously, it shows this is showing the impact that that local competitions can have on even bigger competitions like this. You've got hundreds from the UK flying out this weekend, haven't you?
Yeah, we have such a great breakdown of competitors from such a range of countries. We have, I think, about 30 different countries represented here. Netherlands, of course, our biggest group, but other massive groups, like you said, the UK, Poland, Germany, and then obviously more minority countries. We've got the other end of the spectrum, places like Iceland, where we've got one competitor who's come all the way from cold and rainy Iceland.
Chris with another 1174 there. Obviously, again, one of our stream team members for this weekend. He looks a bit chuffed with that, doesn't he? He looks as he smiles into the crowd and gives a little point to, I assume, one of his friends as he, completes that solve and goes into another sub-12 there. Obviously, again, we're going to look at a few differences, as you can see. As again, you can see here just how much the table can be utilised in these sort of solves. And, for you, when you use the table in these sort of scenarios, what sort of advantages does it give you when you solve? Because for me personally, I use the table quite a bit.
Yeah, so I definitely think of the table as kind of my support. Whenever I'm turning, I am straightening up with the table, trying to make sure that I get my moves as precise as possible. With C-Thought, we tend at the very top to see a little bit less table use because it takes that split millisecond to put the cube on the table, and you're obviously losing that from your time. Meanwhile, with Rue, we see a lot of, they call it table abuse, where you hold the left side with your hand and you use the table for the right side, and that leaves the middle side free to turn and do M moves.
Just interrupt you there as Patrick Ponce is going again. He's just starting with a red cross. A lovely ZBLL. I believe it's an 8.2 there from Patrick Ponce. So again, another solid start for the American again. Seeing these sort of world record level competitors up on a European stage, it sort of gives you, the impetus that, the European cubing scene is growing, isn't it?
It definitely is growing. We're seeing more and more interest, both at local competitions and across these different championships. We've got 1,200 people there this weekend, but with a long waiting list. I'm sure that we've got probably at least 2,000 competitors who wish they could be here this weekend.
Oh, 100%. And, all of us are very, very lucky to be here. A lot of us are flown in on the Monday and the Tuesday and gone sightseeing in Amsterdam and, just made the best of, what this country has had to offer so far.
Yeah, so how have you been enjoying the Netherlands so far, Henry?
Well, I flew in yesterday. Well, I didn't fly in. I got the train down from London yesterday morning. And, just seeing, getting into Arnhem and just seeing all these fantastic competitors. Obviously, you've got loads of Irish people, you've got loads of Norwegian flags out, you've got so many different nations being represented, and that's what you want to see at this competition. The atmosphere was it's constantly going to build, and once 3x3 kicks in later this week, you're going to see so many people, and that's what this competition's all about. And this is my first major international championship, and just to see such a big venue like this and host such a big cubing event, and just seeing so many people that have sort of your like-minded interest. You know, it makes me, you know, feel a sense of pride, and just like seeing everyone just makes me feel like a very, you know, a very happy person, and just seeing, you know, this community is vastly growing. Just seeing how, you know, how much media attention there is. We've had plenty of Netherlands radio and TV stations come up to people and, you know, interview them. So it's good to see the amount of media attention this is getting, because obviously we want cubing to be growing. And obviously during this week we're already seeing the amount of posters around the city centre, and a lot of people also as well that I've seen have, you know, they've come up to me and they've asked me about the competition. You know, it gives you that sort of excitement, doesn't it, even when you're outside the competition?
It really does. There's such a mix of cultures and countries here, and it's so great to see everyone come together with this common language of cubing. You might join a group and you might high-five, you know, a Dutch person, you might be chatting with a German person, you might be, you know, giving your French friend a hug. There's just so many people to see from so far across the whole continent, and it's great to just meet everyone again and just have this one communal group where everyone can talk with each other in one spot every couple of years.
It looks like we're just in the transition for groups now. Obviously, we are still in 3x3 one-handed first round. I think we're going to be moving on to group 4 in a second. But you can see on the stage currently the amount of volunteers that you can see, all in the white shirts there, helping us to judge, run and scramble. Obviously, you know, seeing the amount of work that's been put into this championship, you've got to just say a massive kudos to every single one of them.
Yeah, I mean, every single part you look at, a volunteer has done it. If you look at, you know, all of the stations set up, these banners, the seats, our volunteers worked so hard, both yesterday and for the core team across the last year, to pull off such a spectacular competition. But right now we are looking at the live results. We can see that Aidan from Switzerland, right now it's looking like he's on track to place first. Only 3 results in so far. I noticed that he had an 8.60 average of those 3 solves he did. That would put him a full second above our second place, Giannis Kostenkele.
And to be fair, having that sort of gap as we're now going to transition into Group 4, having that gap on the field already, that's a massive advantage for, you know, Eden already, you know, mentally, going into it, having that second gap, it just gives you a little bit of breathing space, doesn't it, to, you know, relax yourself in the next round, you know, sort of get yourself adjusted. And if, obviously that relies on him, you know, hopefully completing that sort of average with 2 of his best souls possible, but having that sort of a gap is massive, isn't it?
It is, and it really depends on the person on how they use it. Some people take so much confidence from that gap and they use it to power themselves into the next round with another explosive average. Other people, though, the stress can get to them. When you win the first round, if you go into the second round, you're then sat in that very first chair where the top seed sits, and there's a lot of pressure associated with that. You've got all the eyes of the room on you, and a lot of people can fail under that pressure.
100%, and obviously you can see on the orange stage already, if you might have seen so far, the amount of cameras set up for every single station. Obviously going into the final, you know, having that sort of attention on you, does it sort of crumble you in a sense, or does it, you know, sort of push you on? It's going to be that sort of conversation, isn't it, Eleanor?
Yeah, so for some people, you know, I'm thinking Timon Koloshinsky, he talks about how he thrives off of the crowd, how the eyes on him just push him to do his very best and to pull out his best performance to impress them. Other people, though, especially people who for whom this might be their first championship, their second championship, it can be really stressful because the crowd here is so totally unlike anything you'd get at a local or national competition. You've got 2,000 people are going to be watching the finals, and I tell you what, that is a lot of people to be watching you, and that's a lot of stress to be under.
100%. Right, we've got Group 4 coming up in just a second. Talk to us about, you know, the people that we could be seeing potentially in the next few minutes. Obviously still a lot of big name players to come, but who are we going to be seeing?
So up next we have got Druva Saimaruva from Switzerland. He is our 4th seed and our 2nd seed based on recent performance. He has a PR single of 5.66, which is the former world record. Paired with him, we've also got Jonas Pilhofer from Germany, our 10th seed. His PR single is 6.46 and his PR average is 8.64. So a lot of people with 8-second PR averages. competing at this competition. We've only got a couple with that 7-second average, people like Nicholas Archer, like Luke Garrett. But for the most part, the contention is between these 8-second PR average people.
100%. But obviously, I want to look at, you know, the fact that Jonas is a former European finalist, came fourth at Euro 2024, and obviously, I think that plays a lot into, you know, nerves and a lot of competing experience. I feel like you need the sort of experience and you need those sort of rounds to, you know, get you into the swing of things. Obviously, not saying that Daruva has not been in the championship final. He was in 2024. He came 6th, and he was also in the same final as well. So they've obviously shared the stage together. But you need that you need that experience, don't you?
Yeah, you absolutely do. And something these top competitors always say is that there is no match for just competing in a big final. You can do all of the at-home simulation you want, but you are going to crack the minute you get in front of a crowd. The best practice you can get is just trying and building up that experience in front of a real-life crowd, basically.
100%. And there's obviously lots of stuff to come later this week. Obviously, going to be talking, you know, quite later on. We've got a few more events to come. What have we got next up, Eleanor, and what can we be expecting in the next few weeks? Obviously, we've got a lot of, you know, different events to come as we are now moving on to one-handed Group 4 as the first few competitors come out to Seoul on the orange stage and the green stage. I'm not seeing much action from the blue stage so far, but what have we got coming up next, Eleanor?
So after one-handed this morning, we have got 7x7. 7x7, such a completely different event to one-handed. It's so long, which means that those minor mistakes don't have quite as much impact as for a quick event like one-handed. That means that at the very top, with people like Timon Koloshinsky, Kieron Bian, Timofey Tarasenko, it tends to be quite fixed. There don't tend to be as many upsets in big cubes like 6x6 and 7x7. That doesn't mean they don't happen, but I think it would be a lot less likely to see an upset for 7x7.
Exactly that. And me and Eleanor will be taking you through all the way to the end of one-handed round 1, so that's going to be until 11:15 Dutch time, so we will be taking you through all the way, and we've got another hour with you guys until the end of this round. Got a few more results, I believe, entered in. We've got a few, I believe we've got Alexander Rasheta from Bulgaria just there with an 11:08. We've got a few other, I think we just seen Magnus, who was up competing, he finished with a 10:28 average as well. You know, again, there's a lot of, you know, competition still going into this one. Obviously, we're yet to see, you know, anybody break that sub-9 barrier. Could we potentially see it at the end of this round, or do you think people are saving it for later rounds?
It depends on the person, because I see that Patrick Ponce, he is pulling out his A game in this round. He set a new personal record of 6.72 in round 1. That was on Seoul 4. We've seen varying performances on Seoul 4. People like Giannis Kostenkele got his worst solve actually on Seoul 4, while Luke Garrett, the other UK competitor, he got his best solve again on Seoul 4, 8.44.
Yeah, we've obviously seen a lot of variation, obviously, between the two from the United States. Obviously, we've got a few coming in as well. It looks like that Seoul 4 and Seoul 3 looks to be the two ones that people are going to be looking out for.
Wow, an 8.54 there from Jonas Pilhofer from Germany.
Again, one to look out for this weekend. And again, it's just, this is where, you know, we start to see the sort of results that we're expecting to see from the top competitors now. And obviously, to pull that out on one of his opening solves definitely will set the testament for the rest of the average, don't you think?
It will. So Jonas, his PR average is 8.64. So that 8.54 is below his PR average. I mean, that is fantastic to pull out on such a major stage.
And I think a lot of us cubers, especially if you're watching us in the live chat, and obviously let us know if you're watching from wherever you are in the world at the moment. Obviously, we've got Monty Fox as well, one of your Scottish competitors, as you might notably know from many competitions locally. But obviously, as you know, going into a solve, and obviously being both cubers, when you have that sort of, you know, when you're on for a good average and you're looking likely to get a PR, you know, when do the nerves sort of kick in for you, for example?
I am one of those people that can never get a PR average if I'm thinking about it. I go Seoul 4, I'll stupidly get my phone out and calculate what I need on Seoul 5 to get PR average, and I tell you what, Henry, I never get it after I do that. I think for me, the PRs that I get are always accidental without thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly that. And obviously there's a lot to, you know, think about when you're going into the PRs. I think for me, you sort of start overthinking, don't you? And you sort of think that, you know, okay, I'm on for something. Can I then, you know, build on that? You know, I feel like the best feeling for me is when you lock in something on Solve 4 and, you know, you've got that extra breathing room just to relax and, you know, to enjoy yourself on Solve 5. But sometimes when you're under pressure, like most of these competitors, you will have to pull something out the bag in your last solve.
Yeah, you can really get in your own head after 4 solves, especially if you've got 3 good, 1 bad. That means that really it can go either way with that Solve 5. A lot of people going into that, they're thinking about the fact that they could win or podium, and that itself is what puts them out of actually doing it.
Exactly that. Well, you may see that, again, we are seeing the battle again between CFOP and Ru. Obviously, a lot of competitors still are using CFOP, but again, there are still advantages of Ru which see it, you know, so far high up at the top levels, but you are seeing, for example, Patrick there pulling out the 6-7-2 PR single, you know, is a CFOP solver, you know, and obviously you're here, for example, the man with the very, I'm going to assume, I think it's Welsh sort of outfit is on the sort of Ru side of things. You know, we can see the differences, can't we?
Yeah, we can. I mean, the biggest difference, of course, that move count. You're solving so much more efficiently with Ru. Of course, at the same time, it's so much harder to learn. I mean, anyone who's learned a new method from scratch, whether that be Ru, whether that be, you know, another event for a different, you know, switching to Lin on square one, it's such a massive change. You've done tens of thousands of solves with your previous method, and you're essentially starting from scratch again in a lot of ways, and that's super off-putting, and it's such a major block to switching.
Obviously, we saw Monty Fox just a few seconds ago. We've also got a few notable names on stage. You've got Ben Stokes, two of the major UK competitors who are coming over. Again, Ben won to watch in the 3x3 blindfolded, which is later happening this week. And obviously, Monty is a former UK Championships podium in 3x3. You know, there's lots of, you know, different sort of factors which people can take into one-handed, and you can sort of bring those skills over, can't you?
Yeah, you definitely can, and I think getting the experience in at a national championship, it does transfer to some extent to a competition. You still got that crowd experience, you've still got that practice of trying to handle your nerves in a big championship final, but it doesn't quite compare to this stage. And for someone like Monty, who's at his first ever European Championship, the nerves can still get to you no matter how many national championships you've been to.
For those sort of people going into a top, you know, international competition and, you know, going into their first major competition, for example, what do you think that people should be expecting, especially going through their heads, and how do you think they can, you know, sort of deal with that?
Yeah, so if this is your first championship, I mean, obviously if you're not a podium contender, I would just say, you know, have fun, enjoy yourself. There's a lot to do at this event, and there's a lot of stuff to watch and a lot of fun to be had. We do have some top competitors who are at their first championship. For them, really, it's all about trying to manage those nerves, working on whatever coping mechanisms you've built, whether that be practice solves, deep breaths, what have you, and just trying your best to forget about all those people in front of you and just focus on solving to the best of your ability.
Looks like Eden's the first to be entered to break that sub-9 barrier. The Switzerland man has currently come in with an 8.32 average, a best single of 7.53. I believe he was counting 2 8s and a 9, so far not bad at the moment from him at this current stage. He tops the leaderboard as he is a full second ahead of Patrick Ponce and a full 1.4 seconds ahead of his fellow European compatriot at the moment. So he leads the way as we see at the moment. Plenty of action still going on stage at the moment. A few souls in. We've got plenty of sub-20s across the board. One sub-15 at the back there. You know, it's good seeing a range of times and competitors, isn't it, Eleanor?
It is, and that's, I think, the magic of the round ones is you've got the very, very top competitors, the world record holders, the champions, and they're competing in round ones alongside, you know, I hate to say it, people like me and you, Henry. There's people of all skills and abilities in round one, and you might see an 8-second solve next to a 30-second solve in a round like this.
You know, it's the only place where you could say, for example, cubing legends like Sebastian Weil could come up against myself on the same table, which for me, you know, for some speed cubers especially, could be a little bit of like a reality check for them, and sort of, you know, some people might be in a phrase, could be like starstruck, for example. But that, again, it's the magic of top level speedcubing, and this is what you're going to see across the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, so for these round ones, we've got a proper mix of abilities. We've got our top competitors split throughout the different groups. Then as we get into our secondary round, second, third, fourth, you will see all of those top competitors all competing on the same stage against each other. I don't think we'll be next to any Via brothers in second rounds, Henry.
Well, if I somehow manage to pull something out of the bag, you never know in these sort of stages. Like, I could pull out a sub-7 average. You never know. Who knows? But I don't think that's going to be happening this weekend, especially. Right, let's go through a few other things so far. We've got still people to come. We've got Jonas and a few others still competing at this current moment in time. Who else are we going to be looking at later on this round?
So coming up in wave 4, we have Andrei Che from Russia. He is our third seed with an 8.09 PR average. But interestingly, he's not quite been on his A game across his last 12 solves. His last 12 solves has seeded him just 8th with an average of 10.11. The statistics have put him at a chance to win of a chance to podium of just 5%.
We've got Theodore on screen as well at the moment. Again, one of the big competitors, and he's very happy with that 11-second solve, as you can see. Obviously, we know what that kid is capable of, and that bucket hat, has sort of, magic powers in it, doesn't it, at the moment, Eleanor?
Yeah, absolutely must do.
Yeah. Right, let's look at elsewhere. Obviously, we'll look at Andre first. And as we were talking about, it's all about competition experience. This is Andre's 4th European Championship, so he's been coming for the last 8 years. What sort of advantages does that have, for example, over, your first timers?
So it means that you've had that experience with the massive crowd, the yelling, the cheering, the clapping, all of those eyes on you, and you've now been able to build up some strategies for how you handle it, how you cope with your nerves, and essentially being able to perform at your best in front of the crowd.
Again, we've got a lot to look at as well. We've also got another big player coming up in the next group as well. Who have we got coming up for us? Is again someone who's been at the European Championships, but again someone who could again challenge the finalists.
Yes, we've also got Igor Gładysz from Poland. He's 17 years old. The stats have put him at a chance to podium of 19%. That's not bad. I imagine he is hoping that he can pull out that really great average that might be able to secure him a podium. He's our 9th seed with an 8.57 average, but he's been performing really well lately, and his last 12 solves have seeded him 5th.
And with Andre, his last 12 have got him an average of 10-11. So, but he still has, obviously, a chance to podium of 5%. Igor has a chance to podium of 19%. He also got a chance to win at 3%. So again, it just shows that anything could happen this weekend.
It really does, and we've seen at the last European Championship, we had these statistics, we had this chance to win, and for some people, it was as low as 1%, and then you saw a victory come from that.
Exactly that, as we've got a few competitors just still working their way onto stage. We've got Jimmy Naismith over on this left-hand side on the green stage. We've also got plenty of competitors coming towards the back as the multitude of volunteers work incredibly hard to get themselves ready. Adam De Veer walking off stage at the moment, as we can see from our commentary booth over on this left-hand side. But again, we'll just walk you through one of the solves. As you can see, whether this is going to be a CFOP or U-solve, it's going to be a little bit different. So as you can see here, I believe it's a CFOP solve as they build both of the first layers at the same time. But as you can see, it is a cross made, for example, and then they build sort of pairs, and then they build the first 2 layers simultaneously. It's done an OLL, which is orienting all of the last layer pieces just to get all the white on top there, as you can see, and one algorithm will finish off the rest of the cube. So that's sort of how CFOP will work, an example for the people who haven't actually, seen these sort of competitions before. But obviously this is sort of the advantages of it is that it sort of plays into the hands of, finger tricks, for example, which are definitely a key part of every single solve, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, finger tricks are absolutely make or break in one-handed. You will see, if we get an overhead shot, that people are turning the right-hand side with their pinky, and that's very hard to do. If you've never picked up a cube before, pick up a cube if you've never done one-handed, and just try and turn the right-hand side with your pinky. It's actually really quite difficult, and yet these people are so masterfully turning it because they've practiced and practiced and practiced with those finger tricks.
100%, and I think that they do play a massive part in in different scenarios. For example, if, you know, finger tricks vary between cubers, don't they? And, you know, for example, you know, we might have some top-level cubers. For example, we know he's not here this weekend, but Max Park, you know, his U2s are done with a U and then another U, which obviously you don't do the double flick that some people might do. So it varies from person to person, doesn't it? And, you know, it's sort of, you know, it sort of varies, but people can still get the same results, but in the same way, they might not, for example.
Yeah, there's so much kind of personal variation when it comes to your turning style. Some people have this kind of buttery smooth turning where you turn that little bit slower but super fluidly and fluently, and those are really fun to watch. And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have got people who, you know, kind of abuse the cube a little bit with their turning. They're kind of slashing with each turn quite ferociously, and yet they can also accomplish really fast times with a completely different turning style that's really kind of not fluid, but super clacky and super quick.
And I feel that a lot of, as we can see, a lot of top-level competitors, we know that Luke Garrett is one of the big advocates for TPS, which obviously is, you know, you've seen him, you must have seen his solves on YouTube and like how, you know, how quick he can turn and how rapid he can be. You know, sort of that TPS style does, you know, it sort of benefits a lot of cubers, doesn't it?
Yeah, so there's this kind of ongoing conversation within cubing of TPS versus algorithms, because so TPS obviously turns per second, that's essentially just how fast you're turning it. The more algorithms you know, though, the more you have to pause and look at the cube to try and identify what algorithm you need to apply next. So you're doing fewer moves, you're turning it slower, but your knowledge is greater, so you don't have to do as many moves to solve it. Whereas higher TPS, you've got to do more moves, but it means that you can't stop and think about what you want to do next.
Yeah, bringing it back to Luke, obviously you might not know, but he holds the former highest 2x2 TPS solve ever, 17.2 turns per second, and that's outrageous, isn't it?
I mean, that's just insane to think about, really. Can you think about doing anything 17 times in just 1 second?
Yeah, and it's just, it's sort of, you know, for him it sets a precedent, you know, that you know, he's coming to, you know, sort of when you go into those sort of scenarios, you have to make every second count. You know, if it will work for different people, but if it works for Luke, then obviously it's going to do very, very well, for example. And especially with his sort of turning style, it definitely does work. Obviously, one of the first few to break the sub-4 barrier. And obviously, you know, it's sort of, you know, it plays into his hands, doesn't it?
It really does. And that's something that I think applies as well to different cultures of cubing. You might see in China in the past couple of years, we saw a lot of top competitors coming out who weren't using ZBLL and were instead sacrificing those extra algorithms for just insanely rapid turning.
You might see, as we are going to transition over to Group 5 in a second, you see Kieran Behan, one of our big names this weekend, especially in the big cubes. He has been around the European scene for quite a while, obviously competed at Seattle in the World Championships, multiple finals. You know, he is one of Ireland's greatest ever speedcubers, and you know, his ability to, you know, in his early stage, obviously he can still do it now, but his ability to, you know, his creativity with big cubes.
Nu op zijn best met lekker veel voordeel. Zoals plus frambozen, Nederlandse aardbeien en rode bessen. Per schaal.
We've just had a massive jump scare here in the venue. I'm not sure if you guys have heard that. We've just had an absolutely massive jump scare in the venue, which I believe has shocked and somehow has got appreciation by a lot of people on stage, by the volunteers, as we are going to move on to Group, I believe, 5 now, with Andre and Igor going to be going up in a few minutes. I'll be honest with you, I completely lost track of what I was saying, but we will move back to Kieran, as we were talking about previously. Obviously one of our big Irish players and who has done it on the European stage this year. What do you think we can see from him this week? Obviously there's been a lot of talk about him. You know, some people are saying there are more people slowly coming into play. You know, what can we see from Kieran later on this week?
So maybe I'm just biased towards Kieran, but I would love to see another win for Kieran in 6x6 or in 7x7, because he is absolutely fantastic at both, and I do think he has it in him. I do.
Well, I spoke to him earlier this week, obviously one of the original advocates for using Yao on big cubes. He feels slightly nervous, but he said to me that he feels, again, he feels confident and he feels like he's ready to have a good time. He's ready to go and enjoy himself. And, you know, still being one of the top men in Ireland, you know, coming into this weekend, he knows he's got a job to do, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. So, obviously, he is a reigning champion, but he's going into this in third seed behind people like Timon and Timofey. So it'll be really interesting to see if that experience behind him, you know, this ain't his first rodeo, we'll see him through, and whether he can pull out something absolutely fantastic again.
Obviously, spoken to the guy several times, you know. Notes his cubing hobbies down as running and snooker, and obviously we'll talk about running in a second, but you might have seen yesterday that we had the cube mile yesterday, and he did it. Have a look. Did you do it yourself, Eleanor?
I did not.
You did not?
I did do it the year before, actually.
You did do it the year before. Okay, well, a lot of people were competing yesterday. We had a lot of people, you know, sharp in their numbers as well. You know, what? It's a very strange and nuanced thing to see, isn't it?
Yeah, so running and cubing, two things that ordinarily do not mix. I think I could count on one hand the amount of people I know who do both cubing and running. Obviously, with this cube mile, you've got to run a mile every quarter mile. You've then got to solve a Rubik's Cube. So it's really a test of both your running speed, but also your solving speed. So we've got some great runners here, people like Mark Dullamond, who isn't really quite at the top of the solving game. And that means that when he does stuff like the cube mile, he's got a bit of a disadvantage against slightly slower runners who are a bit better at cubing.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, I think it's a big test mentally, isn't it? For example, so you know, obviously running and sort of cubing, you know, you have to transition from, let's say, doing a 400-meter run and then stopping, doing a cube solve, and then going straight away, you know, back into another run. It's a big test mentally of both, you know. Some people might, you know, tire out after a few solves, but you know, you kind of have to just keep going, and you know, that is the sort of thing that you want to be looking at, especially, right?
Yeah, it really is a test, like nothing else. The cube mile. We have a few competitors who are really quite good at both running and cubing. People like Daniel Evans. It's a very niche skill set, but it's one that gets a chance to come out in something like the cube mile.
100%. I missed the sign up for it, so I'm pretty upset I didn't have to have a go at it. I did bring my running gear over, which is a bit upsetting, but it's all good. We'll focus back on one-handed Group 5 at the moment as the first few competitors just start to stream out from the backstage area. We'll look out and see who we've got coming out in a second, but obviously we'll look back at the timing sheet so far. We've still got Eden on top with an 8:32 average, a gap of about a second to Patrick Ponce with a 9:38. Again, it looks like that the pace is sort of starting to settle at the moment from the top players.
It is. So we've obviously got Edan from Switzerland right at the top, almost a full second pulling ahead of our second place European. Sorry, well, he's more than a second from our second European, Yannis Kostenkele. Then we've got a lot of bunching, I would say, at that higher 9-second, lower 10-second point. Hovering in that period, we've got Yannis Kostenkele from Romania, Valerio Locatelli from Italy, Alexei Tsvetkov from Russia, Juliette Sebastian from France, Magnus Lensch from Germany. I mean, that is a lot of people packed into just 0.5 of a second difference.
100%. If we look from Alexei over to Johnny Kurlaf, we've got loads of big names in there. You've got Juliette Sebastian, you've got Luke Garrett, you've obviously got Magnus, as you said. And, you know, having the field so close together at this time of the competition, you know, it means that, you know, that not everything is clear just yet. Obviously, we've got 2 more rounds to go of this event, but again, it just shows that people, again, are just trying to ease into the competition. We're not even, you know, midway through so far at the moment at the of this event so far. We have got a few, you know, few more groups to come. But again, the group is just starting to bunch up. Obviously, we've got only a 0.07 gap between Luke and Magnus. You can see, you know, just how tight the field is, isn't it?
It is, and you're seeing these, you know, world record holders like Luke, and yet they are placing, you know, 7th here. It really shows just how much variation there is.
Again, we've got another example of another Russo over here, and you know, you're gonna see this constantly. I believe that is Igor. It is pulling out a 9.09. You know, again, you know, it shows sort of the testament to Ru, but no, you will see there, Igor, for example, he doesn't actually use the M moves with the table. He actually does them, off the table. So you can see that, Ru can be done in a variety of ways, can't it?
It absolutely can.
You can see that, for example, Igor is, obviously, again, one of our top competitors. But you can see that, it will vary from person to person. And not everybody's going to do the same thing. The same thing. But everyone's going to sort of, cater their own needs to their sort of solving, favoritisms, and that's sort of, what we're going to see across this weekend. But
and that's exactly what you want to see here. You don't want to be coming out with something completely fresh and new. A lot of people put off learning new algorithms for the month or two leading up to the competition, so that everything they're doing, they have done thousands of times before. They don't want any surprises. Surprises is what kills you in cubing.
Just off stage there, we've got Caleb Wolf-Dunn competing on the green stage, 13.77 to start us up there. Obviously, Caleb in contention for the 3x3 finals this weekend, and will be competing in Nations Cup later this afternoon. Obviously, we know Caleb personally, being two Brits who have competed with him quite constantly throughout 2026 and 2025. What do you think Caleb's chances are, obviously stepping away from the UK scene back onto the international scene? Obviously, won the biggest clock round ever at Worlds 2025, has a lot of experience at major championships. So what can you sort of tell us about Caleb and what he can bring to the table this sort of weekend?
So Caleb Wolf-Dunn, absolutely spectacular competitor from the UK. He recently got the 3x3 average national record of 5.44, which places him 7th in Europe. He's been chasing that for a year or two, so to finally get it in the past couple of months, that's going to be a huge confidence boost for him going into the competition.
100%. And when I've seen Caleb solve, you feel like every single time he steps up on stage or he goes to his solving stage, you feel like something's going to happen. So for me personally, I think that Caleb is definitely one to look out for this weekend. But obviously we've got a lot more going on the orange stage at the moment. Just trying to see who is where. Not much action at the moment so far, as we've got, again, we can see the examples of what CFOP sort of brings to the table. And, again, variations as well. People don't actually have to use the table. Well, he is now after he's just dropped the cube there, but, commentators curse. But, not everybody uses the table, Eleanor, do they?
No, they don't. There's so much variation. It's great to see just how individualized one-handed solving is. Everyone takes a different approach, and it plays out completely differently depending on the person. We've
got Igor just on this right-hand side now. We are going to look at him already counting a 909, as we've seen on stream already. He is one of the Ru solvers, so what he will do is he'll solve two by 3 blocks on either side. So we'll have a look and see what he can do from this solver. It looks like he's just planned his 2 blocks to start off with. I believe he's just using those wide moves just to his advantage. As he moves in towards the M slice, it's going to be a decent solve. And again, another low 9 again as well. So again, he's looking solid so far already, Igor.
And I think this really speaks to what I was saying about how his recent performance has been incredible. He's really pushed above his average seed to get a really, really great recent set of results, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing in front of us here with those 2 9.0 solves on stream.
Exactly that. Only 17 years of age, and again, one of the main competitors that we're going to be seeing this weekend in this event. And obviously, it's good to see that sort of variety as well.
Yeah, it is.
Again, we'll just look again, just see around what's going on at the moment. Obviously not much action, as most people are going back to the waiting area for their songs as well. We've got a few people on stage at the moment as well. A few 22s, a few sub-20s being pulled out on the green stage, as you can see. Plenty of people just moving over and onto their 3rd song at the moment. Obviously, again, we're seeing lots of volunteers again. And again, just seeing all these white shirts is a testament to how hard they've been working this weekend again.
They have. I mean, they've got a very, very busy weekend in store for them. They will be working from, 8 a.m. till 8 p.m., 12 hours a day, working to make sure that all of the scorecards are entered, every solve gets judged, scrambled, running. I mean, there are so many roles that go unseen at such a big competition like this. Exactly.
And as you, as a delegate, Eleanor, you see sort of loads of volunteers that come and help out in competitions in Scotland, for example, where you delegate. What does that sort of mean to you, seeing volunteers help you out and want to be enthusiastic about helping you out at these sort of competitions?
So I think volunteering is really so core to what the WCA is and what it's about. None of this would be here, none of us would be here if it weren't for the hard work of volunteers, both at this competition and you know, local competitions and at the WCA level, uploading results. There's so much work that goes in, and I don't think any amount of thank you and appreciation we can show would really sum up how much work there is to do and how grateful we are that it gets done.
Again, Joseph Briggs on screen now, one of the UK's top one-handed competitors with a 14.96 there. Well, obviously we've got 3 major ones, as we mentioned as well, from the United Kingdom. Louis Dimondonka, Joseph Briggs, as we just said, and Nicholas Archer. You know, again, the United Kingdom, no bias from myself personally, but, you know, we're going to see that sort of, you know, impetus from the UK to go and try and get a result this weekend, aren't we?
Yeah, so OH is always something which the UK, I think, has had that bit of an edge in, especially if we look back to, you know, late 2019, 2020, that kind of time period. You've got people on the scene like Louis de Mendonça, people like Joe Briggs, and then more recently, post-COVID, we're seeing these younger OH solvers coming on the scene with names like Nicholas Archer appearing, with names like Johnny Morello-Kurlaf appearing, and these people, they start young, and the benefit of that really is that they've got so much time on their hands to practice, and they've got these nimble young fingers that just pick up the algorithms like nothing. It's incredible to see. Yeah,
we've had a few results entered, and it looks like the top 6 has changed. So it looks like Jonas Philippa from Germany is slotting into 4th at the moment with a 9.86 average, best single of 7.39, counted at 8.54 as well. And behind him in 5th, Oliver Zuber of Poland just slots in as well with another 9.86, but it looks like Jonas has beat him based on single. As Olivia's best single was a 9.20 and Jonas's was a sub-8, so definitely wants to look out for. Here's Igor going again, especially. You see again the wide moves that he used, just utilising the flexibility of Ru that it has, and he goes into the M slices again. It's another solid solve. 2 9s and an 8 now from Igor that we've seen on stream so far. Definitely put him in good stead so far.
Yeah, I think he will be on track for our 2nd seed with such an incredible performance like that.
You know, definitely one to look out for, isn't it?
It is, and we're seeing so much of this bunching at that tail end of 9 seconds, lower end of 10 seconds. Those couple other names that you just said popped in, people like Olivia Schubert, they are also pushing into this kind of half a second gap where so many competitors are competing. And I just saw a corner twist on stage there, 13.07. The man looks very disappointed with that.
Well, funny enough, it's not the first corner twist we've seen in this group as well. You might have seen it on the stream a little bit earlier. Got a few people still competing as well. We've got our England shirt there, as you can see there, which I am still a little bit upset about from last night, but we'll skip past that as we aren't here for the football, unfortunately. We'll see again what sort of method he uses. It looks like it is Ru again. Again, you can see the wide moves being utilised again there as well. Just as how good Ru can be with the sort of fluidity as well. As he moves in from the 2-block building, goes into the M slices there. 13.32 for him there. Well, the producers haven't done me any favours there. They've gone straight from an England shirt to an Argentina shirt. But, you know, we'll skip past that as well. Obviously, a few more people on stage as well. We've got another sub-18 there from that man on the left-hand side over there. Again, we can see the contrast of sort of, you know, the methods again. I know you keep saying it, but, you know, it's such a weird variety, isn't it?
It is. And yet they managed to compete at the same level. And it really is, I think, a neck-and-neck game between CFOP and Ru so far this round.
I do want to see how it progresses later on, you know, this competition. You know, seeing the amount of, you know, differences between both methods. You could see that because of its popularity, CFOP realistically, and the amount of things that you can do with it, should be on top. But in some regards, you know, because of the lesser move count, Ru still, in a way, it does prevail again.
It does. I think we're going to see a Ru victory this weekend. That's
think
going to be
so?
that's going to be my call. I think we'll see Ru clutch it with someone like Nicholas Archer. I think we'll take that win for Ru.
So you think that's going to be your big outlandish call for this
Yeah,
weekend?
that will be my. Don't worry, I've got many more outlandish calls to
Well,
come.
well, let's hear them then. Let's hear them. If you've got an outlandish call, let's hear them. If you've got any prediction for this weekend, any prediction at all, what are we going for? It could be in anything.
I think we are going to see a Theodor Zeider champion.
You
for
think
3x3.
so?
I think that he has it in him to beat Timon, who has been back-to-back European champion. I think he's going to knock Timon off.
Okay, that's quite interesting because me personally, I think I've got Timon down as my European champion for this weekend. Obviously, there is a lot about Timon we can talk about, and he is as we all know, one of the best in the world in the majority of events. He's a 2-time world record average holder in 3x3. He's won North American Championships 2024. He won the European Championships in 2024. He came third at the World Championships in 2023 and 2025 against some of the best competitors in the world. There's a lot of stuff that we can talk about, especially with his ZBLL and ZB influences with his last layer techniques. He's got a lot to use and utilise this weekend.
He does. He is such a competitor with such a rich background of competing. He's competed all over the world, so many championship experience. He took a period of time where he was going to as many big championship competitions as he can. He said just to pick up on experience with the crowd, and I think that will play to his advantage because he is really, really good with crowds in a way that's a skill that a lot of the other competitors here are going to lack. 100%.
And you can see if you watched, the World Championships, how he was playing into the crowd every single serve, and when he was getting those sub-5s, he was almost like trying to get the crowd up and sort of play to them and sort of like get them to rise for him, and that's sort of something that you want. But his sort of ways of solving, he's got pseudo slotting, multi-slotting and keyhole down to a T. He's one of the big pioneers of it. So talk to me about how that can sort of play to his advantage. A lot of competitors are going to rely on pure TPS with CFOP, but this man can do basically anything in that sort of regard.
Yeah, so Timon has been known for a while for his slightly unique solving style in that he's super, super clever with his solves. Other competitors, like you said, they're just relying on turning as fast as possible. They're doing simpler solutions, whereas Timon, he's a thinker. He looks at the cube and he can see avenues that other competitors I don't think would explore, and that means that he takes risks. But generally speaking, that pays off for him, and that means that he has these options that the other competitors don't with stuff like you said, pseudo-slotting. We'll
come back to Timon in a second. We can see Igor on our right-hand side, one of our top players in this group, just ready to go here for, I believe, his 4th solve. It might be his 5th. I think one of the solves were out of the stream, but we'll have a look and see what he's on now. Again, one of our big Ru solvers. He's already counted an 8. He's got 2 9s already as well, so definitely putting him in good stead so far.
So if he can get another low 9 here, I think that will secure him the 2nd seed going into the 2nd round.
Again, big pause there, and he's already shaking his head. I think he knows that this solve isn't going to be the one that will be bringing him any decent favours, and it looks like it's a massive pause on core orientation as well. He uses his M slices at 15.62. He's not very happy with that, is he?
He's not, and that's exactly what we're talking about when we say that you get a handful of good solves and then suddenly it gets to your head and you pull out solves like this. That is not what Igor is going to want to see, but that's what happens when you have such an incredible performance in the first few solves.
I think we need to talk about look ahead as well, because you see both CFOP and Ru are heavy on look ahead. I think in ways, Ru doesn't rely on look ahead as much, even though it's sort of free building in a way. But in some regards and in some way, for example, they both rely on it. And the big pause there from Igor, obviously brings his solves from what we saw earlier from like a low 8 up to I believe there it was a 15, wasn't it? So that's how important look ahead can be in this sort of regard, can it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the further you look ahead into the solves, the more moves you can plan, the more cancellations you can spot, and the cleverer you can be with what's coming up. You don't have to stop and look and recognize. Instead, you can just power straight through it. That takes out that, potentially 0.2 second gap, and that 0.2 seconds, when you repeat that across every solve, that's something that can take you from, you know, second position down to 8th.
Exactly that, and that's what we're going to be looking for. You know, those sort of big pauses in solves, they sort of, you know, hurt your momentum. And, you know, when you hit flow state, for example, as we see Dan Tyler there on your left, just hitting a 14.4, again, one of our UK competitors, you know, when you sort of get into flow state on your solve, you sort of begin to think more. And when you don't look ahead, it sort of, you know, interrupts. If you don't know what you're doing next, it sort of interrupts your flow, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's great that you talk about the flow state, because that's something I've heard a lot of cubers talking about. It's something I've felt. It's really about getting in the zone. You just reach this mental state where every solve kind of rolls into each other mentally. You are kind of a one with the cube. It's not like you're trying to fight it to do turns, which can so often happen when you're not properly warmed up. And when you reach this flow state, you're about to compete at the very top of your ability.
I've just seen Igor walk next to the commentary booth there with a few of his friends. He seems a little bit disheartened from the back end of the average, but it looks like he's still going to be in that contention. Obviously, with the 2 9s and the 8.3 single, again, we're going to be looking at, you know, he's going to be trying to improve that second round. But I think even with the 15 at the end, it's still going to be put him in good contention for this weekend. Right, another gap for our groups. We are going to be moving on to, I believe, Group 6, I want to say. So we are going to be moving on to Group 6, and we've got, you know, the main man coming on for us in the next few minutes, aren't we, Eleanor?
Yeah, we have got Nicholas Archer from the UK. He's seeded second on average, but he's had an incredible recent performance with a latest average of 12 of 8.65. That means that he is our top seed for recent averages. Chance to win 47%, just under that 50%. I think he can do it. I think he has the mentality that the other cubers don't. He has nerves of steel, Nicholas Archer, and I don't think he's going to crumble under the pressure.
Well, we see what he can do with the current averages at the moment. Obviously, the current ones on screen aren't correct at the moment. We see Eden with an 860 there. He currently is on an 832 average. I think it's yet to still update. It'll be interesting to see where he can finish for this first round. I think for Nicholas, it will be a good start to get him up towards the top and, you know, just sort of be the early pace setter, just to sort of get himself ready. Obviously, a 47% chance to win, an 88% chance to podium, I believe. 2 world records, both averages. 6-foot worlds last year. Believe 2 continental podiums. 1 in 2022, 1 in 2024. But he's going to now be looking to jump up from the 3rd places that he used to have. Can he now go on and win it?
I think he's got it in him. He's been performing better and better and better. He keeps setting himself better singles, better averages. Like I said, he got that world record 7.9 average last year. A sub-8 average, I mean, that's nothing to scoff at. It's something that very, very few competitors have. It's only people like him, Luke Garrett. That's an incredible thing to have.
Do you think he's looking at the averages from Ianis and Valerio and Alexei and Juliet? Do you think looking at and say, hang on, that's not the greatest. I can, you know, go one step better, do you think?
I think if he saw those times, I think he would say so. Because if he's averaging around the 8.6 mark, I mean, that would give him a full second lead ahead of them if he can get something similar this round.
You know, I think, and you think, you know, having the sort of confidence and, you know, I'm going to say this now, the sort of the nonchalantness about Nicholas Archer, you know, you're going to have sort of no real, you know, pressure going into this one. Obviously, it's round 1 of a European Championship, but I feel like for him, seeing those results early on, he's going to think, okay, this is something that I can definitely, you know, go and improve on now. So I think we'll you know, see and think about this and, you know, potentially, you know, going, as I said, go one step better and, you know, see what he can do against, and possibly, you know, possibly get our first 7 average of the round and, you know, see if we can, you know, build on that.
I love that you talk about the nonchalance of Nicholas Archer, because that's something he's very known for in the UK cubing community. Nicholas Archer almost never reacts to solves. No one had ever seen him react to a solve until he set his world record, and then he smiled slightly, and that was the most reaction we have ever seen out of Nicholas Archer. He is a machine when it comes to one-handed, and he doesn't seem to get in his own head. He seems to be able to knuckle down and to pull out great averages like I'm hoping we're going to see in this round.
100%, and I'll be honest with you, you know, it sort of gives a little bit of a variation to the UK cubing scene. You know, obviously, I'd say this personally, we're a very reactive scene. But to see Nicholas, you know, be cool, be composed, you know, not really have any major pressure around him, it's good to sort of see that, you know, dynamic in the UK cubing scene. And I feel that definitely plays to his advantage as well, you know, and that's what sort of, you know, carried him all into, you know, any world final, any European final that he's been in so far.
It's exactly what you want to see, because we saw the UK competitors last European Championship, most recent Worlds. If you think about someone like Daniel Partridge, who was seed 1 for Pyraminx at the last European Championship, and then did really, really poorly in the penultimate round, and ended up not qualifying for the finals, where I think he'd have won it. So holding your nerve is a skill that a lot of our UK competitors, especially the fresher-faced ones, which a lot are, I think they lack, which Nicholas Archer has.
Well, I think you can tell already that if you haven't made it completely obvious that both commentators are definitely British, if you can't tell. But we are moving on into Group 6 of one-handed round 1, as slowly but surely the competitors slowly filter out onto both the green and the orange stages. There is a bit of action on blue now as the first few solves are coming in. Again, we are going to see, as you can see there, we are going to have a few different OLL algorithms, obviously just to cater to, you know, one-handed solving. Obviously, we'll drop back into 3x3 one-handed for a little bit of a second. We'll drop back into CFOP. You know, talk to us about, you know, different algorithms. Some people have different algorithms for both normal 3x3 solving and 3x3 one-handed solving. What sort of advantage does that bring people with that sort of knowledge?
So when you've got a different alg set for one-handed solving that's specifically optimized for one-handed, that means that it's doing all of the moves that are most accessible when you're just doing one hand. Whereas if you just take your two-handed algorithm, that's not designed for one-handed, and it can be sometimes quite awkward to reach your hand around the cube to pull that off. 100%.
Let's move away from Nicholas. Let's talk about our other top player in here. We've got Radoslaw coming up, the 16-year-old Polish man. He obviously common single at WR4, average WR15, seeded 8th going into the competition. Just about a mid-9 AO12 coming into this one. A chance to podium of 26%. He's the current NR single and average holder for Poland at the moment. What do you think we can expect from him this weekend?
So I've got to say, the Polish always surprise me. They pull out spectacular performances, and I think Radoslaw will be no different. I think he could podium. The odds have put him at 26%. That's pretty doable. I think he has it in him. It is his second European Championship. He's not got quite as many under his belt like someone like Nicholas, who's at his third. But second, it does mean that he has that experience competing in the one-handed finals at the European Championship in 2024, where he placed 9th. I think he can easily beat 9th. I think he's looking at around the podium position, 3rd, 4th. I think that's where he's going to be. Exactly that.
Obviously, we've had a time entered in now for Igor. He's finished. He's coming into second now with an 883 average. It turns out that we actually missed his best single of the stream so far with 744 and Sol 4. It looks like we missed that on the stream. I don't think that was shown, unfortunately, but it looks like counting it's an 839, a 902 and a 909 with his best as 744 and the worst, as we saw in the last hole, of 1562. Definitely putting him in good stead and puts him into second place and gives him a 1.1 second gap to Ianis from Romania. Definitely will put him in good stead going into the rest of the weekend. We are still yet to see two of our big players at the moment. We are still waiting for them to come out. We've got a few competitors going on at the moment. We've got a 13.3 second from the left-hand side over there. We've got plenty of action still to come for the rest of this group. I feel like we are going to see them momentarily. We are just trying to see who can bring himself into contention. We are still awaiting Nicholas and Radoslaw at the moment, but we are going to jump back into the stream as we are joined by Andre. How are you, Andre? How are you feeling, my friend?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, yeah. big comp, very excited, a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely a lot of people. Obviously,
Yeah.
talk to us about your experience in Arnhem so far. Is this your first time in the Netherlands?
No, I actually live here.
Oh, you do live here. You do live here.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
been living here for 2 years
Okay,
already.
and how are you finding the weekend so far then?
It's not weekend yet, but yeah, so far I'm finding it super well. Yeah, I'm staying at a hostel with some other friends. Yeah, super cool. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you've just done your average as well. You're currently sitting in the top 10 with a 10 flat average. Talk us through your average and sort of talk us through what you were thinking with each solve.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on average I wasn't that nervous during the average. Like, it's still just the first round. It's not that hard to make a second round. But yeah, I think my cube felt pretty weird. It wasn't set up well. I probably should have competed with my backup main. So yeah, I had a couple of mistakes, like with AUFs. I got 1+2, and on the first solve I also cube dropped out of my AUF. But I think I blame it on the cube.
You blame it on the cube. Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably the best excuse to come out of that. So not a bad excuse either. Well, obviously, you're still within the top 10. You're probably most likely going to make it into round 2. How are you feeling ahead of the later stages of the competition? You're definitely going to be advancing. We hopefully think so. But talk to us about although you've had a few Q drops that you've mentioned in that. Talk to us about how even with those Q drops, how do you sort of react in that average?
Sorry, how was of what?
How you sort of react to one of the bad solves in that in that average?
Yeah, I tried to stay positive. I was thinking, yeah, this is just first round. It doesn't matter that much. And I think I didn't fall apart in the end of the average. Like, I clutched it with 2 more 9s. I think on average I got pretty good cases, and I think I also inspected well. Like, I think I did like 3 X crosses, and yeah, I preserved pairs and stuff. So I really blame it on the cube.
You blame it on the cube, perfect. Okay, when you got those 2 9s, is it more, in a way, was it more relief, or was it more thinking that, okay, I've got to sort of improve this for the next round?
Yeah, it was a bit of a relief, I would say. I think, I wasn't too nervous during this round, so for me it was like kind of a neutral state of mind. I was like, okay, I got some nice average. I guess like I'm somewhere at the top. I didn't fall apart completely, so I'm kind of happy with how I performed, but not super happy.
Not super happy. If you saying that you're not super happy with the average, what were you sort of do you feel like you could have brought from that average and take it into the next round? What do you think you can bring from that? Obviously, don't say change your cube, for example, but obviously, what do you think you can bring from that into the next round?
Probably, yeah, I would say probably my mindset was pretty good during this round. I didn't shake that much, so my turning was kind of okay. So I think I just gotta keep going, set up my cube better, and keep going like that.
So how ready are you feeling for the second round and the final? Do you have much experience, would you say, handling your pressure in front of such a massive audience?
Yeah, I've competed in multiple majors right now. I competed in Red Bull twice, but I think I'm still, this kind of experience is not very often to have, so I think I'm still, personally I'm still struggling with nerves and stuff, but...
So do you have any kind of coping strategies for how you handle those nerves in the later rounds?
Nothing in particular, to be honest, but I think, one thing that helps me is to stay positive. Whatever happens, I can still like clutch any solve, and if you just start blaming yourself all the time for the mistakes that you've made in the previous solves, then you're just gonna be all the time negative, and the average you're gonna fall apart at some point.
Yeah, I think that's bang on. You need to maintain that positivity, and it's not over till it's over, and if you let it be over after just a couple of solves, you're destroying your own chance at something good later on.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Yeah.
Going back to your average, obviously you had, you said one of the scrambles did really stand out, obviously your best single. Was there anything else that, although you might have Q-dropped, did you think some sort of stood out? Obviously you said you preserved a lot of pairs and you could see a lot of things easy. What sort of stood out to you from those 5?
You mean like scramble-wise?
Yeah, scramble-wise, yeah.
Scramble-wise, yeah, I think scrambles were pretty good for a white solver. I think on the last scramble, white was pretty bad. However, yeah, sometimes I occasionally do yellow when white is bad or yellow is good. Yeah, at that time it worked out. Yellow was pretty good. I did an X-cross on the last solve. But I think the scramble set was above average, not super good, but pretty good for me personally as a CFOP solver.
And talk to us about, obviously you're talking to us and also the viewers at home. There's a lot of people obviously watching us this weekend over in Arnhem. Talk to us about how you sort of, go into these major championships. What do you sort of, how do you prepare? What sort of things have you done going into this, into the major? And how much do you really spend, going, like time-wise, like focusing and sort of practicing and getting yourself ready?
Yeah, for this particular Euros, I've actually learned a lot of algorithms. I started learning like a lot of ZB stuff in January. So I've learned the entire ZBLS and I learned H-set and pi-set. And I was really focusing on 3x3 and 3x3 one-handed because those are my main events. I really I think several months before Euros, I stopped paying attention to other events, even though I think I'm pretty good at 4x4 and other cubes, but my focus was really on OH, and I spent a lot of time grinding those algorithms and preparing.
So do you set yourself any goals going into the competition, or do you have a mindset of, what happens, no specific expectations?
It's a mix of both, I would say. Of course I have some goals, but I don't try to push myself very hard for them because otherwise you get too focused on them, you get nervous. I'm trying to just stay casual, just enjoy the comp. But of course, I would like to reach my goals.
So you've obviously, this isn't your first European Championship. How would you say the competition has changed since the last European Championship? Is the competition stronger? Do you feel like you're still at the top of the pack? Do you feel like there are some new contenders on the scene? Tell us about that.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to talk about OH or other events as well?
Yeah. Talk about OH for now.
Yeah, about OH, I think it's really strong. Europe, I think, is the strongest continent when it comes to OH. For example, when you see results from North America Championships or US Nats, they're a bit lagging behind. But yeah, Europe is the strongest. And compared to previous Euros, people have definitely gotten way better. People are getting those sub-9 averages.
So what have you been doing to kind of keep up with them the last couple of years? Just practice?
I've been in OH for a while. I think I've just been always there. In the past couple of years, I've gotten my insane 809 average, and it kind of, I guess, put me forward. And I think I've gotten pretty good, consistent average in the past several comps. So I think I'm relatively well prepared for this comp, but I wouldn't say that I'm a favorite. There are definitely people who are better than me, but I think I've been doing relatively well.
Yeah, I think you have too, and I think we saw a really good performance from you in round 1, and we're excited to see what you pull off in round 2 and round 3.
100%. As regards your 809 average, you said that was obviously an insane average for yourself. How do you feel when you sort of get those averages, or you get good times at home? Or does it feel like it's more work paid off, or does it feel like more of a barrier broken for you, for example?
When I get some of those good averages, I think my main thing on my mind is that I got very lucky. But yeah, of course, I've worked hard for those results, and I think it's better to have some lucky PR averages rather than having a lot of mediocre averages. And yeah, I'm glad to have this 809, and it really pushes the limit. And I don't know, other 8s don't feel that special, for example.
But at the top of cubing, your PRs are always going to have that aspect of luck to them. Mm-hmm. And as the saying goes, getting lucky isn't a crime. So I'm wishing you
definitely
all the best luck at this competition.
Thank you.
Good scrambles ahead. I'll bless it.
Well, let's hope so that you do very well this weekend. But before, let's obviously talk about a few other things as well. Obviously, you said that 3x3 was one of your main events. As you said, the scene is getting a lot heavier and a lot more competitive. Now, we're going to ask this across this weekend, but I feel like everybody's got a favourite for this weekend. Who is your pick to be 3x3 champion this weekend?
3x3. I think Timon.
You think Timon?
Yeah, he still has a lot of experience. He's still on top. So I would bet that Timon would win.
Do you feel like we're going to see any dark horses then in that regard? Do you think that you could name anybody that you might see, potentially pushing for a podium place that might necessarily not warrant being there, for example?
Yeah, it's hard to say. At every major you see a lot of dark horses that you don't really expect them to podium, but some people always pop up. But to be honest, for this Euros, I don't have a particular name in mind, but some interesting things are definitely going to happen.
It's just sort of see who it is in sort of God. You're going to enjoy it from a fan's perspective in that way, which is probably the best way to do it as well. Obviously, I've just been looking at the streamers we're interviewing Andre at the moment. I did see Nicholas Archer get a low 7. As we did miss on stream, which while we were interviewing him, and he's got another 7 there, so he is counting a 7. I'm unsure of his other results, but that's a 7.11 and a 7.76 that I have seen personally. I'm unsure what you guys have seen on the stream and at home, but obviously we'll look at that later as we'll keep talking to Andre.
I'm seeing some smiles there from Nicholas Archer, and 100%. As a man who rarely smiles, I think that could spell something really, really good for him.
Yes, definitely. Andre, what do you think of Nicholas as a competitor? And have you spoken to him a few times? What do you think of him? Just as a general one-handed competitor, and have you had the chance to talk to him?
Yeah, I think Nicholas is one of the strongest OH people in this comp, and probably in the world in general. Nicholas has been consistently super good. He's been showing good results. I hope this Euros he will get some good results as well, as we're seeing it right now.
Yeah, and can you name, obviously yourself, but can you name anybody else that you sort of look up to in the one-handed world, or someone you compete alongside that sort of just has helped you in some sort of way? Who do you think has helped you in the one-handed?
I would say, during my entire OH journey, I would say maybe Julia Sebastian, because she's also been there for a while. Since pre-pandemic times, she's been always really good at OH, and she's also a CFOP solver. But she knows CB now, but she's CFOP based solver. So I've looked up to her many times. She's been doing pretty well. I think I would say Juliet.
So back when you were first learning one-handed, what would you say drew you to it? Who were your big inspirations? What was the kind of journey to picking it up as one of your main events?
In the beginning, I think I didn't pick it as a main event. It just was something that I was good at. So I just went to the first couple of my competitions, and OH stood out because I had the best rankings in OH. So I think that's how I picked OH. In the beginning, I think I was looking up to Felix a lot. He was dominating in many events, and OH was also super good from Felix, and it was good to look at his solves.
Obviously, you mentioned Juliet as one of the main people you looked up to. How does it feel competing alongside her now that you've in a way just looked up to her for in your start of your OH journey?
It's I don't know. I think at some point, when I moved to the Netherlands, I started going to a lot of European comps and started to see her in person. At the beginning, it felt a bit weird, that I was looking up to her, but now I think she's just one of other OH people who's maining OH. Not that special, I think, at this point.
Did you feel a little bit starstruck when you first saw her for the first time?
I guess.
You guess? Okay, I see. I feel like a lot of people in the sort of Speedcubing community, if you meet, let's say, one of your idols, for example, one of my personal people when I was first starting cubing was Kevin Hayes, and I thought, I've never met Kevin, but obviously, seeing those sort of people, do well, sort of gives you that sort of starstruck feelings. But when you see, people like Felix, for example, have you met Felix before? I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
So when you see Felix, or let's say when you see Timon, or some of the best people in the world, for example, obviously you competing alongside them and also doing battle with them. How does that make you feel when you compete?
To be honest, it's hard to say because when you're competing, you don't think about those people a lot. You just focus on your solving. But Yeah, it's really nice to compete with some of those people that you look up to, and being on the same stage, being in the same group. Um, yeah.
How does it feel now being that little bit faster than those people who were originally your idols, and you've now overtaken them? What is that sensation like?
Yeah, it's hard to think about it. Like it doesn't. Yeah, in your mind you think, oh, I'm still slower, but I don't know. Well, for example, at some point in OH I took over Felix, and I'm thinking that my pair is now like 1.5 seconds faster than his. I think I don't have any special feelings. I think it's good to see that you're like higher in rankings, but nothing too special, I think.
Yeah, I cannot imagine the feeling it must be overtaking Felix Amdex, the goat of cubing, and seeing him beneath you in the rankings. I mean, he really paved the way in the kind of early 2010s for OH solving.
Yeah.
So obviously you got a lot of events coming up this weekend, Andre. You said that 3x3 is one of your main events. How are you looking to prepare for that going into this weekend?
I think, I've done a lot of work in the past few months. I've grinded my main events. So I think for this comp, the goal for me is just to win this mental competition, not to get too nervous, to keep your turning well, don't do a lot of mistakes. Well, yeah, it's of course easy to say, but I'm gonna be mostly focusing on the mental game.
You said you had this mental competition with yourself. What sort of mental game are you sort of playing? Is it there a certain thing that you want to beat, or is there a certain thing that you want to overcome this weekend?
I don't know. I think my main goal would be just not to get nervous in the finals, OH finals. I think I will just try to keep my head light. Don't overthink everything. Don't focus on the mistakes.
And you said that you've learned a few ZBLLs going into this weekend. When you learn them and then you translate them into a competition setting, does it feel a little bit weird, or does it feel like you're, again, that you're sort of progressing still?
Yeah, it feels weird to do those new alks, but I've been preparing. I've been competing a lot in the past few months. So I think like those alks that I've learned, I've pretty much practiced them a lot, and hope I'm not gonna mess them up when they come up.
And we'll definitely hope so that you don't mess them up.
Thank you.
When you step into the competition, like when you come up against and you're gonna go into round 2. When obviously you're gonna use those subsets of ZBLL. When you then go into when you're learning it, how is it a tough sort of process to learn ZBLL? Because obviously there's a lot of algorithms involved. There's a lot of different cases. For example, there's pi cases, there's soon cases. Tell people at home what your advice be if they're going to learn ZBLL. What sort of your advice would be, or sort of what sort of techniques have you developed with that to help you learn?
I think first of all, when you're trying to learn some case, there are like multiple algorithms, multiple like variations and stuff. I think in the beginning, before you start to learn something, you have to pick the alks that you find good for yourself. Learn the best alks right away so that you don't have to relearn stuff. And while you're like trying to recap alks, there are a lot of techniques. You can just practice your subsets. You can also, for example, when I was learning ZBLS, there was a very nice site where you could just select cases. So I just had like a subset of hard cases that I find hard to recall or hard to execute, and I was just practicing those hard cases that helped me a lot. There's also a smart cube. I bought a GAN smart cube, and I practiced with that on CS Timer. I think Timon has posted a video at some point how he practices his alks on the smart cube. It also helps a lot. I think those are my advices, and yeah, you just have to really dedicate a lot of time.
So now you've been learning ZBLL. Would you say that your solves lean more towards higher TPS, towards efficiency, towards... How would you describe your solving style?
Yeah, I think now that I've learned a lot of alks, my move count has gone lower, and yeah, I think more poses, of course, for recognizing, but yeah, sometimes you just feel how the move count is like in a low 50 or in a high 40. Yeah, ZB is very good for move count.
Yeah, so how much have you been practicing on recognition and reducing those pauses versus increasing your execution speed?
Yeah, I didn't focus on something in particular. I think I was just practicing ZB in general. I was practicing last layer for ZBLS and ZBLL. I think I did an okay job. Yeah, I think I recognize fine, and I think I execute also fine. And sometimes if you mess up an execution, you just try to redo the alk many times just to get used to it again. But I would say I personally didn't do anything in particular to enhance my recognition or execution.
So do you think you are at a disadvantage compared to the Ru solvers who are having a slightly lower move count than you, or do you feel like it's kind of neck and neck?
Just a reminder, there's a water bottle.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think Ru solvers still have lower move count compared to ZB solvers. There is a slight disadvantage, but Ru is also a bit harder to execute, harder to plan, and like I think ZB method is pretty much comparable, I think, with Ru. But yeah, Ru is very ergonomic for OH. For ZB, I think you have to do a lot of work to learn good alks for OH. But
so right now, the European record, both for single and for average rather, was set by a Ru solver. Do you think we'll see a CFOP solver take that back?
It's hard to guess, of course, but I think so far Ru has been popping up a lot in Europe and in the world. So it's just, I guess, a matter of luck whoever gets some good average. Well, I think the current world record average is still on CFOP by Luke Garrett. So they're pretty much neck and neck, but we see more and more Ru solvers.
So
in OH.
Do you see a future that's entirely Ru one day, or do you think CFOP will always have its place in top level OH solving?
I don't know. I think in the nearest future, CFOP will still have its place in OH. I don't see it disappearing, just because CFOP is still a very popular method for 3x3.
Sorry, I just have to stop you there.
Of course, yeah.
Because we've just had our first European records of the weekend, and we didn't completely realise because we've been interviewing you, Andre. Nicholas Archer has broken the one-handed European record of a 7.95 average.
So that ties his present European record of 7.95. So he's got it a second time now. That's incredible. Which is
absolutely incredible. I think the the three counting times were 7.76, an 8 flat, and an 8.09 with a single of 7.11. And we completely missed that, unfortunately. But congratulations to Nicholas Archer. We have our first, joint European record of the weekend. I mean, what an achievement that is.
Yeah, to pull something like that off in, a championship setting like this, lots of people already in the crowd. I mean, he's at his best on a scene like this, and I think Nicholas struggles less with nerves than seemingly some of the other competitors, and it shows the fact he's pulling out a sub-8 average in round one. That's incredible. That would set him up very, very nicely going into round two ahead of the pack.
I mean, Andre, talk to us about that. What a pace setter that is for the start of the competition. When you see stuff like that happen, how do you feel personally? Obviously not great, I'm going to guess, but
no, I feel happy for Nicholas. As I said, Nicholas, I think for me personally, he's one of the favorites in OH. He's been consistently pulling off crazy averages, so I'm not surprised that he had a sub-8 average. But yeah, he sets a really good blank for all of us. So I'm happy for him.
Well, I did see the 7.76, and as we were saying earlier, he barely reacted. So I was thinking absolutely nothing of it. I was thinking that he might have counted something else later on the average, but it turns out that he's completely he's got a European record, and what a start that is. I believe we are on to 7x7, the first round of 7x7. So we are going to be shortly transitioning in a little bit. But obviously, before we let you go, Andre, talk to us about, talk and the viewers at home about your one-handed experience and sort of what would be your advice to sort of get to your level?
I think in OH, one of the most deciding things is obviously turning. Yeah, all of the top solvers, they turn really well. I think learn finger tricks, learn new algorithms for OH. That's what sets people apart, I think. Even if you have to overcome your struggles, still push your limits, and yeah.
That's some really great advice, Andre, and I think it's something that applies to people no matter what level they're at, beginner, advanced. Improve your algorithms, improve your finger tricks, and I think that will take you very far in one-handed.
Well, Andre, thank you so much for joining us here in the commentary booth. That is it from me and Eleanor so far. We are moving on to 7x7 first round, and we're going to take a little bit of a changeover of commentary team. So we will see you guys in a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks.
You are welcome.
Thanks for coming, Andre. It's been lovely to talk with you.
Thank you, guys.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Rubiks WCA European Championship 2026. My name is Chris Mills. I'm joined here today with the lovely Oliver Wheat, and we're going to be taking you through 7x7 here in Arnhem. Oliver, what are your thoughts on this competition so far?
Well, we've seen one European record already, and we've only had one event. So, yeah, it's going pretty well, I'd say.
It is going wonderfully so far. There's so much competition here in Arnhem. 7x7 is going to be a very competitive event. It's an event we could see another European record. I know there's a few people on that stage right now, or soon to be on that stage, who will have that European record in sights. Unfortunately, I got news yesterday that Timofey Tarasenko is not going to be in attendance in this competition.
I didn't know that.
I believe he had some visa issues, which is a shame. He will be missed. It's tough to miss out on a big competition like this, especially when he was a favorite for so many events.
Yeah, that's a really big contender that's been wiped out now.
Yeah, exactly. But it does open the field up for a lot more people. I was having a chat with Kieran from Ireland yesterday, and before he was like, it's going to be tough to get on the podium, and now he's kind of got his sights. Maybe he can take the win. But Timon is just an unknown quantity in 7x7. He doesn't practice it, which kind of gives him a superpower of not caring when he gets on that big stage. There's Knut from Norway with a sub 3. Deep breath after that. That's a nice solve for him.
So we've only got 2 groups of 7x7, and this is the semi-final. So we are going to see a lot of fast competitors in these 2 groups, because they'll all just be competing at the same time as each other.
So I believe I've seen Mark Zimmerman get up on stage. We've got a few issues with tracking times at the moment. We'll hopefully get that all ironed out as we get through the competition. Just some internet problems here in this wonderful sports centrum in Arnhem. It's a massive sport arena. We've got so many different rooms, a lot going on. There's food vans, there's WCA booths. All the sponsors have their own booths that I haven't even checked out yet. This venue's so massive.
Yeah, and the room we're in is pretty big. There's plenty of spectator seating. If you're in the area, come and check it out. And There's also 2 massive Rubik's cubes that I don't know if we can get a camera on it at some point, but there are 2 absolutely ginormous Rubik's cubes that are hanging from the ceiling directly above the stage. And I think everyone's had the same thought, which is, I hope they don't fall at anything.
Yeah, they are hoisted up with chains. I don't see them going anywhere.
I'm sure it's all safe.
I don't know, I'd never seen it before. I walked in and it took me a while to kind of process what it was. One of them was much lower yesterday, so I couldn't really tell it was hanging until I got up close. But man, they look awesome.
They do look absolutely amazing.
We'll try and get you a shot of them at some point, but I'm sure if you have a look on the Euros Instagram, I believe it's WCA Euros, there'll be lots of photos and videos throughout the competition, and you can kind of get a bit of a vibe of what it's like here in Arnhem. Let's focus back on 7x7. I'm not quite sure what we've seen so far. I don't think we've seen Timon show his face yet, so he may be coming up in Group 2.
We do have a stream schedule for those of you who are interested. So if you go onto competitiongroups.com, which is where everyone at this competition will be finding out their groups, and click on the stream tab, you should be able to see when people are competing. I was under the impression that Timon was in this group. I'm not so sure anymore because I haven't seen him yet.
He is supposed to be. I've yet to see him, but he should be on the orange stage right now.
Maybe he had a line and he hasn't made it for his group yet.
Kieran will be in Group 2. So it's been a while since I've been back in Europe, watching some of the top competitors here. So my names and faces are a little bit rusty, so I might need you to help me out on that front, Oliver. Can you point out anybody here and tell me a bit about them? Really testing you here. Putting you on the spot.
Well, right now we're seeing a split screen across the fastest stage, which is orange. So you should be keeping your eyes on the orange stage as much as you can this competition. The stream, I'm sure, will be focused on it. And therefore, it's only the orange stage that I know the names of. As we can see, we're zooming in here. On the right is Knut. So that's the only name I know. They've got the blue stage and the green stage, of course, in the main room. And then we also have a couple more stages in the side rooms. Because this competition would simply be too big just to have in this one single
1,200 competitors, right?
Yeah.
1,200. One of the biggest. I believe that puts it, depending on how many people actually show up and compete, I believe it will be the 4th biggest competition of all time, behind the last 2 Worlds and the last Euros. So that's a ridiculous number of people who've made the trip out to Arnhem, and it's a beautiful city. I haven't seen much. Have you managed to explore much?
Just in the neighborhood where I'm staying, just like those classic, very calm, nice and peaceful European streets. And, you know, the sun was out and there were cyclists everywhere just chilling out and riding past. Pretty much every road has a cycle lane down the side of it, which we love to see in the Netherlands, of course.
Yeah,
it's been good.
They've really got it figured out here in the Netherlands, I think. Trees everywhere, bike paths everywhere, buses everywhere.
Yep.
I've enjoyed it. And it's just such a nice vibe. I think everybody's just happy. It's nice and warm. It's not too hot. The heat wave has passed here in Europe for the most part, so it's cooled down, which we are very grateful for, but it's immaculate vibes. Last night, you guys probably heard, but we had the first unofficial event of the weekend, which was the Cube Mile.
Oh, of course.
But we'll talk about that a little bit later, because we've got our first interview first interview for us, another interview. Christoph Bober, how are you? Chuck on that headset. All right, well, welcome on the stream. We'll just check we can hear you. Can say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. I'm assuming we can hear you. Can you hear him, Oliver?
It's not coming through my headset.
Okay, we'll wait a second and see if we can get that sorted. Okay. Well, we're back on 7x7. Now we go. We've got it all sorted now. How are you doing? Welcome to this competition. How have you been so far, Christoph?
Thank you, pretty good. I arrived to Netherlands 2 days ago, and the first day is also the toughest day to prepare to the competition. Today I have the first attempt of multi-blind, so I'm pretty stressed out, but I think everything will go good. Also, a few minutes ago, first attempt of US moves, FMC ended up, and probably one of the Poles is on the first place. So
Okay.
yeah, we are pretty happy
with that?
with his result. Yeah.
So tell me a bit about Polish cubing. You guys seem to be dominating everything at the moment. What do you think makes Poland so good at cubing?
I think number of speedcubers, yeah, because maybe 15 years ago we had the first boom of speedcubing in Poland because of the most popular talent show in Poland, and that 15 years ago a lot of new speedcubers showed up, mainly in southern part of Poland, yeah, and it's really spread out across the whole country. So I think that's the main reason we have a lot of competitions. So in every region of Poland, maybe the nearest competition is like 100 kilometers from you. So it is really hard not to compete in Poland. Yeah, so I think that's the main reason, and also we have a lot of good competitors. Yeah, so in every event you have to be really good to get on the podium or even in the final.
Yeah, all right. Well, you yourself are a very competitive competitor from Poland. I mean, your main event's blindfolded solving, right?
Yeah.
Which of those are you sort of focusing the most at the moment? Is it multi-blind?
Yeah, right now it's multi-blind. I'm pretty old. I am 27 years old. Yeah, so
Old.
Yeah, I'm close to be senior cuber. But yeah, right now I'm focusing mostly on multi-blind. Blind is also important because these two events are really connected. But multi-blind is right now my main event. Blind is also important for me, but yeah, it really depends on the part of the preparations to the competition, which event is more important for me.
What you go, Oliver?
Yeah, so how many cubes are you submitting for this multi-blind attempt?
Probably 61.
Okay.
Because doing multi at majors is another game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to go really safe as you can. So 61.
So how many would you usually do if it wasn't the Europeans tonight?
My last non-safety attempt was in the beginning of June, and I submitted 70 cubes.
Okay.
But ended up with 2 DNFs because of quit the attempt in the beginning of the attempt. But I knew that during Euros I have to go more
Yes.
safety. So 61, I think.
And how many do you want to get right out of 61? Well, obviously all of them, but how
To
many
be
do you
honest,
think you'll get?
I think that safety range of number of DNFs is about 5, I think.
So hoping for 50 plus points.
Yeah, it should be enough for medal, but we will see, because multi-blind level is really increased.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have a lot of competitors in top 5, such current champion Ezra, Simon Praszl, but we have a lot of Pole cubers, yeah, from Poland. For example, me, Adrian Dempsey, Kamil Przybylski, so about 5 competitors from my country who could also easily get to the podium. And in multi-blind, I think multi-blind is event where conditions are the most important factors to compete good, to get a good result, because for example, size of the table is really important, and as I see, that table will be really close to the table in the side room. So I think that's pretty big, because for example 3 years ago in Korea at Worlds, size of the table was these tables were really small, and we have to pack up the cubes. For example, Graham Siggins had a lot of issues with size of the tables, but I think that these 2 attempts will be pretty good.
And I remember before the Worlds in Korea, Ezra did a bunch of practice attempts where he tried to distract himself as much as he could, and then went into that attempt and said, that was way worse than anything I practiced. It goes to show just how much the conditions of the room and the venue and everything makes such an impact on multiplayer.
Yeah, because of that, all of my official and even home attempts I'm doing with side blocker on my head.
Right.
Pretty big side blocker, because it's crucial in memorizing stage, because a lot of non-experienced judges likes to show up in front of you during the memorization and look at you. So it's really destroying your focus. So I think that it's really important, because during execution stage it's really easy, because
you're blindfolded.
Yeah. It's really
Makes sense.
It's really hard to destroy your focus, but memorization is at majors mainly. It's the hardest part of multiblind.
Yeah, I think when you get to majors, like, people are so used to competing in their own countries with their own delegates, their own judges. They're used to what it's like. They're used to who's judging them. And then they go to a whole new country and they experienced a whole new set of conditions. And especially multi-blind, you need so much focus. Just the smallest thing can throw you off.
For an hour as well.
For a whole hour. I can't imagine doing that. I can barely focus for a whole 3x3 solve. So mad respect to you guys. It's an incredible what you do. And I wish you the best of luck in your round, and I hope the conditions are good for you. I hope there's not much noise. How, going into that round, is there any sort of like mental things you're thinking about, like sort of preparation to get yourself in the right headspace?
Yeah, a lot. I think every multi-blinder, top tier multi-blinder, has its own preparation stage in your head, because you have to, for example, today I'm going to submit 61 cubes, so I'm going to use 180 palaces in my memory room. So I know them really well, but just to be sure, I have to review every palace, and going through them is really important before the attempt, because when you are really easy with going through that palace, it will be easier during the attempt, and also in execution stage, it's really important to just be really sure with algorithms which are you using, because in freestyle, which is the basic method for top tier multi-blinders, it's about 1,000 algorithms. So if you have time, you have to prepare yourself for a lot of things like that.
That's incredible. I cannot imagine trying to memorize that sort of stuff. When you're sitting down and you're reviewing your memory palace and you're like trying to clear it out and focus, kind of talk me through that. Like, what are you actually imagining? How long does that take? I can't picture it in my mind.
It seems to be really hard, but like every aspect of speedcubing, it's a matter of practice.
Yeah.
So I think mostly in really safe attempts is just reading the cube a lot of times, and it's sufficient to remember the cube. But also I think the hardest thing, the most difficult thing in such important competitions as Euros is just to be creative during the memorization stage, because being stressed out is really stress is a factor which is really fight with your creativity. So without creativity, also you are able to remember the cube for 5 minutes, but most of the cubes, half of the cubes, I have to remember for like 20 or maybe 30 minutes. So creativity is really important, and just to be really focused.
All right. Well, I think that's it for me. You got anything else to add before we close it off here, Oliver?
Just best of luck.
Yeah, best of luck, man. I hope it goes well. I hope you can stay focused and it's an enjoyable attempt. It's a creative attempt. And thanks for all your insight. I feel like I've learned a lot about multi-blind, and I hope you listeners have as well. But yeah, best of luck at the rest of the competition as well. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So we are about to be starting Group 2 of 7x7. Again, Timon was supposed to be in Group 1, but we haven't seen him yet. So hopefully we'll see him in Group 2. Otherwise, it looks like he's going to be missing out on 7x7.
Yes. I don't know. Timon, he likes to know what's going on at competitions. He likes to like take his time to warm up and then show up just for his event. I think we're relatively on schedule. I'm not sure where he is or what's going on. I know he almost missed his 3x3 group at Asian Championships a couple years ago. But he usually does show up, and this competition, like, we're still getting going. It's a little bit messy here and there. People are settling into their roles as volunteers, so I think they'll give him a little bit of leeway. Maybe they're keeping him backstage so they can give him a good shot on stream. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but hopefully we'll see him shortly enough. And Kieran Bihan, crowd favorite.
Yep.
You'll hear his name shouted across this venue multiple times this weekend, especially in Nations Cup.
So much good fun.
If you've met Kieran, you know why he is loved so much. He's just such a positive cuber to be around. He's been around doing it for so long. He still loves cubing, and cubing loves him.
Now, in the hypothetical scenario that Timon has missed his group and isn't going to show up for Group 2, and Timofey also is unable to be here today, what would that mean for Kieran? Is that basically just a guaranteed win?
It's not a guaranteed win. Mark Zimmerman is a very up-and-coming solver. Like, he's kind of been improving in the shadows a little bit. He is still a Redux solver, like the fastest Redux solver that isn't Max Park.
Come on, man. What is it, 2016? Like, everyone's using Yao now, surely.
And I don't know much about him, but I've chatted to a few people, and they're like, yeah, Mark is crazy fast. I think he suffers a lot with nerves. I've seen some ridiculous solves of him with like 5x5 at home. I think he posted like a sub 30 or like a 30 where it was just, I don't know, he just didn't stop turning. He solves like nobody else. I don't even think it's similar to Max Park in solving style. So he's a bit of an unknown quantity. Kieran suffers a lot with nerves at these big competitions, but he also has performed so well at so many of them. He is the reigning 7x7 European champion. He's podiumed at countless European championships and world championships. And coming into this, I think he was just like, I've got the 7x7 win before. I think it would be nice to just get on the podium. But yeah, if it's open like this, I don't know, maybe his mindset's going to change. Maybe he's going to feel nervous.
Or maybe he'll come right into it.
Maybe.
It could go either way, to be honest
It
with
really
you. Some
could.
people, I mean, everyone responds to stress in completely different ways. Everyone responds to nerve in completely different ways.
So the other top competitors for 7x7, Janos Beretsky from Romania. Apparently he doesn't practice so much anymore. He used to be European record holder in 6x6, I believe. He might have had 7x7 at one point as well.
Yeah, it looks like he has had some European records in 7x7.
Back in 2022, but he's still a top contender. 155 PR average. He's currently in the low 2-minute range at the moment. Timon is on another level. He's getting 147 on average, according to our stats put together by the lovely Oliver. So thank you for that.
And Eleanor.
Eleanor.
Got to give her credit.
And he recently lost ER average and then clawed it back only a few weeks afterwards. Timon is one where if you show him a bit of competition, he'll like really get into it, and then he's like so motivated to like take back his records, stay on top. 3x3 average, he hasn't managed to claw that back yet, but that's one I'm sure he will soon. So it would be good to see him compete in 7x7, and I hope he does show up, but we shall see.
Now, Chris, you've been saying this a lot, but pretty much every person you've mentioned, you say, isn't really practicing 7x7 anymore. So what gives? Do people who do 7x7 just not care enough about the event, or does everyone just get tired of doing it over time? Or is it simply that trying to maintain that level of consistency is so difficult with an event that takes so long?
I think the reality is big cubes, people kind of pick up later on in their cubing career. Kieran is an exception. He picked up big cubes early on, and he's stuck with it his entire cubing career, and he still practices. But, I don't know, somebody like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example.
I mean, Timon used to be a sprint event guy, right?
Timon did,
he was
yeah.
Pyraminx, and then he got into 2x2, and then obviously 3x3, and then he's like, you know what, I'm going to do big cubes now.
I think Timon is an exception. He picks up an event, he gets really good at it, and then just kind of moves on to something else.
Right.
He does that all the time, and he's such a talented cuber that he can get world-class at an event quicker than anybody else in the world and stay world-class without focusing on it. Like, we say Timon doesn't practice it, but Timon not practicing something is probably more practice than anybody else does.
So it's not I'm not practicing this event, it's that I'm not focusing on this
event. Exactly. That's what I believe. It's like, and he still does a lot of 5x5, and you get a lot of transferred skills from 5x5 up to 6x6 and 7x7 using the same method. So I think that helps him. And I remember talking to him when he was 4x4 world record holder. I think, does he still have it? No, Max Puck took the average back, didn't he?
I can't quite remember.
I believe Max Puck took the average back. It's been going back and forwards. But when he practiced so much 5x5 and not really much 4x4, he became the best in the world at 4x4 because of 5x5, because they're so similar. So I think that is a big factor in it all. I also just believe that when people get older, they get into the big cubes, and then that's when they're starting to drift a bit away from cubing and get a job, go to university, that kind of stuff, where they don't have as much time to practice. It's not their main focus in life anymore. It might not even be their main hobby. So I think that's another factor. I mean, Kieran has a full-time job now. He's still managing to balance it, which is very impressive. When I had a job, I couldn't practice at all. You know?
Yeah, my practice has gone absolutely through the floor.
So yeah, I don't know. I think it's something to do with that. But we still see a lot of people practicing, a lot of people getting faster. I just smiled at Daniel Partridge, who's picked up 7x7 a lot recently from the UK. I think he's got national records for 7x7 in the UK at the moment. He is somebody who could sneak onto a podium with a good performance.
Yep.
I believe he's around the sub-2, the barrier, and now Timofey's not here. It could be in the 150s that gets you third.
Yeah, so Daniel's PR average is sub-2. His average of 12 most recent rounds is 207. So it looks like he's getting consistently in the low 2-minute range.
Yeah. So we are still going with 7x7. I believe this is Group 2. I can see Kate Graham sitting down to do a solve. One of the few international competitors here, competes for the United States. She is the female world record holder for 7x7. She's a very impressive solver. She could contend with the overall podium for 7x7. I don't know, is this Daniel Rush we've got on stream now? Here's another international competitor, African record holder for 7x7. I believe that's Daniel Rush. It looks a lot like his hands, and he's wearing a Ganguru's shirt.
You can recognize people by their hands now?
Yeah, look, you can tell that.
Yeah, sure.
One thing I did not know about Daniel is he holds the cross on right. So doing a lot more lefty turning. There's most people, they use their left hand as their anchor and they turn a lot with their right. I know a few people who do what Daniel does. Alexander Vucic from New Zealand, he's one of the best 4x4 solvers in the world. He holds the cube in his, he turns with his left hand. I think it's just something that doesn't really matter too much. It's just whatever you started with and got used to. Which side do you hold?
I'm exactly as you described. I use my left hand as the anchor point, and I'm doing lots of righty moves.
Yeah, I think because Daniel is like a righty turner, and that's a 1 minute solve, 1 minute something. Can we see it?
Oh, there's a cameraman in
50.
the way.
Yeah, now there's a cameraman in the way. And a 156, I believe. Do we have Daniel on our sheet? I'm not sure if we do.
We do. The sheet's not loading for us at the moment.
Okay.
So we are losing out on some of our stats.
Well, let's put it up. Let's see what his African record is at the moment. I know he's been smashing them recently. He's got a 152 mean. So I think that was 156, 158. So good start. Does need to improve if he wants to contend with his records.
Yeah, this 7x7 group is fully on the way now. We've got a low 2 minute. I can't quite remember the name of the competitor in the back on the top left. They're very happy with it.
Yeah, I believe they're a Spanish competitor getting very close to sub 2. They look shocked by that result.
Yeah, there's a couple of fist bumps afterwards as well. That's surely PR.
Gotta be. Gotta be. It's like one of those reactions where it's, oh my god, I can't believe I just did that. Also, I'm annoyed that it wasn't sub 2.
Oh, yeah, of course. Bittersweet, isn't it? But hey, there's just more rooms for PRs in the future. I can see Kieran just sitting down to solve now. Hopefully we can get the cameras on him. Oh, maybe he's just finished to solve. Yeah, he has. You can see him walking across the top right now. Hopefully we'll get him on one of the stream stations later.
Yeah, we need to work out a bit of a system to communicate with our stream team. Go back and forwards, get it to the right stations. We're still just easing into it here.
And we have got the pleasure of these overhead cameras, which is so useful for 7x7, an event that so many people are holding their cubes back in their lap so that you can barely see what's going on. So hopefully we'll get some nice over-the-shoulder shots of some of these cubers. And in the top right we can see Luke Garrett has just sit down.
Oh, there we go. We've got projected rankings coming up now.
So Janusz Berecki is at the top with a very low 2-minute mean. The Mark Zimmerman is, well, started off with a 156. So if he can keep that up, he'll be at the top. This is the projected rankings, of course.
Christoph from, I believe that's Czechia, with an NR mean of 207.
And this does confirm for us that we haven't yet seen Timon. So it's not just that we missed him on stream.
Mark Zimmerman, 152 mean. Oh, no, there we go. That's 2 out of 3 solves for Timon. Where is he?
Clearly not on stream.
Maybe this is, I don't know what's going on.
It's got the CR marker there, but he hasn't finished it. Oh, maybe he has finished his mean.
I think they're trying to figure out this projected ranking thing. It just disappeared again. We're trying to get it working.
Is it a 142 ER mean? Is that what we're saying?
I am not sure. I really don't know what's going on.
I'm going to make the assumption that Timon has not yet competed, and whatever we just saw is not what's just happened.
Because that would be ER mean by 0.04. But surely we just haven't completely missed him. Surely we're not oblivious enough to miss Timon Koleshinsky competing in 7x7.
Even if the cameras haven't picked him out, I'm using my eyes and looking at the stage, trying to figure out where he is.
Let's see if we can get an overhead for Kieran. Yeah.
Okay, we're hopefully going to be seeing that coming in a second.
Could you, this camera? Over the shoulder. Yeah. All right, here we've got Kieran. I believe that's a 151 first solve. We've got the over-shoulder camera here. We can see a little bit more than we could on front. Kieran loves to solve under the table, get in a nice, comfortable position, arms by his side so he can just relax into the solve. Loves solving on green, as the Irishman he is.
Timon's results are in WCA Live right now, so there is a chance that we just missed him entirely. Maybe he went to a different stage to compete or something.
That is odd.
But if this is the case, then he has actually just gotten an ER mean by only 0.04 seconds.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I am sad we missed that, but I'm happy for Timon. That's an incredible performance in the first round.
And that is now 2 events that have happened and 2 European records.
That we've missed both times.
That we've missed both of them, yeah.
It's all right, guys. We're teething problems right now. We'll get it together by the end of the weekend, I'm sure. All right, here we've got Kieran on his last 4 edges, I believe, about to hit the 140 mark, a little bit below the sort of pace he would like, but still very competitive.
How quickly are the 7x7s at the top level going to complete 3x3 stage?
6 seconds, I think. Kieran is an incredible 3x3 solver, and his 3x3 solving is designed for a big cube. And you've already got the cross done. I think 6 seconds is what you kind of need for that sort of stage, maybe 7 seconds.
That's a good point. I had forgotten that the cross is already solved because of Yao.
Yeah, at least it is for most of our competitors here. Not Mark, and Max Park isn't here, but it's like that for him as well. So that is a 151 and a 156 for Kieran.
So it's not going to be good enough for first, is it, realistically?
Yeah, what does he need?
Sub 130, I think.
I think he needs like a 120.
Yeah.
I believe in Kieran.
There are only 14 spots for our finals. I believe it's 14 European competitors.
Right.
Obviously, Kieran's going to make that. We don't have to worry about that.
Well, we've got our next interview lined up right now. We've got the microphone on. Simon, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us on the stream.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm doing pretty well. Already competed in one-handed and 7x7, and all right. But yeah, looking forward to multi-blind later.
How long until multi-blind starts now?
I'm not too sure. I think the submission started about 2 p.m. and then the attempt is like 4 p.m.
Okay.
So we got a couple of hours.
How many cubes are you attempting?
I'm not too sure yet.
You're not too sure. Okay.
Give us a range.
Well, it's about 56 to 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just had Krzysztof on saying he was going to do 61. So you're not going to try and one-up him?
No, I don't think I'll change my amount.
Yeah, fair
based
enough.
on what he does.
Yeah, good. Keep it safe.
That's smart. That's smart. What do you think is going to determine how many cubes you submit? There we go. All right, we got that figured out now. So you say you're not sure how many cubes you're going to submit. When you get up to the submission area, what's going to be a determining factor of how many cubes you submit? How are you going to decide?
Well, I think since the attempt is quite late into the day, I'm just going to see how tired I am, and then like maybe change the amount by 1 or 2 cubes. But I did 57 on my last few competitions, and it went pretty well. So I might just do that.
That sounds smart. It sounds like a good idea. Yeah, stick with what you know. What other events are you kind of focusing on for this competition? Is multi-blind your main focus, or do you have other focuses?
Well, my biggest focus on for this competition was definitely 4-blind, and like the other blind events as well, but 4-blind for the most part. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So you currently got the European record single, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And does Ryan have the mean?
I think he does, yeah.
Okay. So how long ago did you get that single?
Sorry?
How long ago did you get your European single?
Well, the current European record, the 101, I got it at the start of June.
Okay, so not long ago.
Yeah.
So you're like at your peak of your solving right now. Great time for a European Championship.
I hope so, yeah.
What sort of preparation do you do to get ready for a competition as big as a European Championship?
That's a good question. I mostly try to be very consistent at home. Like, when I don't have competitions for a long time, I try to rush memo more and really get my top speed down. But then when competitions start approaching, I try to be more consistent, get used to safetying successes and like at a relatively normal speed. And yeah, because like I really don't want to triple.
That's fair enough. Well, my blind knowledge is very limited, so I'm going to pass it to Oliver, see if he's got any more technical blind questions to ask you.
What's your orientation?
I use white top and green front.
Do you use FEFs?
Yeah.
Okay, so the standard pretty much
I
then.
do, yeah.
Nice.
I'm very vanilla in that sense.
Yeah, and full 3-style for everything? Full speed optimal?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's about as far as it goes.
Okay, yeah.
How are your nerves right now?
Like right now?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, like right now I'm pretty nervous.
Okay.
Like this interviewing, that's not something you do very often.
That's fair enough.
So, but
well, you're doing great.
Well, it's probably therefore a good thing that we're doing this quite in advance of the blind rounds that are happening later on today, right? Because you don't want to be too nervous right before that, so you can take some time to get your nerves back.
I think so, yeah.
Get your head in the game.
Like before this, like for the blind events, I wasn't too nervous. Like I didn't feel any nerve for multi-blind yet, but also that might come later. See.
When does it usually happen? When you've got like a big competition coming up, when do you usually feel the most nervous? Is it during the attempt? Is it the night before? Is it just before you submit your cube?
Well, I think the most nervous is like an hour before I start the attempts, and then when I get really close to starting and like when I submitted the cube, then somehow the nerves get back down, and I start to get more into the zone. And yeah, also the night before can be quite challenging.
Yeah, so I'm assuming the goal for this competition has been win it for 4 blind, right?
Yeah.
Or how long have you had your eyes set on that goal of being European champion?
I think for the most time I just had a goal of getting European record and like pushing for a sub one minute barrier, but I'm not sure. Maybe a few months ago I started realizing that the win could definitely happen, and then I started to like get more used to the idea of winning it and imagining it. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
How is preparing for trying to break records different to trying to prepare for a championship?
Well, in a championship, you want to be a lot more consistent, and it's very important that you do well in one specific round. So, like leading up to championship, I would like try to safety more and really make sure that everything is very consistent and that I don't make like, stupid errors anymore. But if I want to prepare to break a record and I have multiple comps lined up, then I don't need to have such a good success rate, and I can like focus more on just having a great top speed. So yeah, I think that's the main difference.
Well, it sounds like you've prepared very well for this competition, and I hope your practice pays off when you go up there and compete. So best of luck for all your events, and thanks for coming and chat with us and talk about your preparation. Any final words, Oliver?
Just best of luck.
Yeah?
Thank you, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Simon. Nice
you.
to meet you, man. Have a good one.
Nice to meet you too.
Good luck, dude.
Okay, so we're just at the tail end of 7x7 Group 2, which is the final group of the 7x7 semi-finals.
Yeah.
Got a few names I recognise on the screen at the moment, although I do fear that a lot of them are from the UK, so people probably don't know who they are. We do have Theodor Zeider in the bottom right. obviously known for his 2x2 and 3x3 records. Not so known for 7x7, which is why he's not on the fastest stage.
Theodor, what a legend. He is well loved by the cubing community. Australian Nationals last weekend, they had a States Cup, like a four-person relay team event. And
similar to the Nations Cup.
Similar to the Nations Cup that's going on. And people dress up for the States Cup. And Team Queensland, they all got bucket hats, and some of them even got the Poland flag stitched onto the front of the bucket hat, so they're all dressing up like Theodor, that iconic bucket hat.
It's such an iconic look.
It is. I love that he's stuck with it, and it looks so cool.
He can't show up to a competition without it now, can he? I mean, that's got to be a bad luck charm.
Yeah.
If you don't come with it, that is.
Yeah.
A bad omen.
I was about to talk about the Cube Mile earlier before we got stuck into an interview, but we had a unofficial event, the Cube Mile, last night. For those who don't know, it's set at an athletics track. You solve a cube, run around the track 400 meters. Solve another cube, run around the track 400 meters. You repeat that 4 times, solve 4 cubes, do 4 laps, and obviously the fastest wins. 150 people signed up for it yesterday evening.
And how many actually competed?
I'm not sure how many people showed up. I don't know if the results are up anywhere yet. I haven't seen it.
There are loads of people who are like, oh yeah, I want to do that, and then it gets to
I was a little bit like that, but then I heard about how many people were doing it, so I competed myself. It was so much fun. It was exhausting. Mika Smulders, a Dutch local, he was practicing a lot for his running, wasn't really practicing his 3x3 solving much, and he broke the world record. He went under 5 minutes 30, a ridiculous pace like that. You've got to be a world-class 3x3 solver for that, and like a world-class runner.
Do you have to stop running when you solve? Or
yeah,
can you solve
so there's your 4 cubes are in a very specific period by the start line,
right?
And there's all sort of people trying to run to their specific spot to grab their cubes. So you start, run, grab your cube, solve it, and then your other 3 cubes will be there for you to do a lap and come back to. So you have to stop and solve that. You can't run with it. You need to leave that in the spot.
Yeah.
So you lose your momentum from running. You get a little bit of a break, but at some stage, that's kind of, you don't want that. You want to keep going. But Mika absolutely smashed it. He was, I think, 10 seconds ahead of the next place, of second place, and there was a lot of support for him. It was a very exciting event, and I'm sure you'll see photos of it and footage of it after the competition. But yeah, Theodor was there without his bucket hat, cheering on everybody.
We can let him off. It's not an official competition.
Maybe he's trying to go be a bit sneaky, not get crowded for photographs.
Incognito, yeah.
Incognito, yeah. All right, we are finishing up the second group of 7x7. Timon with the European record at the start. We missed him in the first group. We must have just completely missed him.
Mm-hmm. But we will get him for finals.
We will.
Because he will be on one of those orange stations, and there's no way we're not going to be able to see him.
We'll have a look at the results coming in. Top 14 make the finals, I believe. Is there any sort of criteria for X amount of Europeans?
I think it might be top 14 Europeans plus however many others from foreign.
Okay. Yeah, every championship does it a little bit different. There's not too many internationals here, but for 7x7, you've got Luke Garrett, you've got Daniel Rush, you've got Kate Graham. So there's a lot of internationals for that. They'll be very competitive and trying to sneak their spot in the finals.
So yeah, I believe we'll have all of the top 14 European seeds on the orange stage, which is where all of our cameras are. We've gone overhead on every single station. So even if someone drops down in their seedings and they don't make it to as high up in the semi-finals as they would like, we're still going to have all of the visibility of them. And then all of the foreign competitors will be on either the blue or the green stage, probably the blue stage because it looks like we've got some cameras on there, as you can see in the bottom right. When is the 7x7 final?
Good question.
Will be, just check my schedule quickly. Tomorrow evening, tomorrow at 5 to 6 in European time.
Yep.
So coming up after 7x7, we have got lunch, and then directly after that, at 12:45 will be the opening ceremony. And I have no idea what's happening at this opening ceremony.
Yeah, yesterday there was a lot of people here, and we were helping to set up and just mulling around. And the organizer said, "Hey, we're about to do a rehearsal in this room. We don't want you to get spoilers."
They kicked you out.
They were like,
wow.
They kicked us out, and they were like, I mean, you can look through the windows from the cafe, but don't if you don't want spoilers. So I didn't see anything. I don't know what's happening. I'm excited to watch it here, but I'm sure they've got a lot installed. It's always interesting to see what the different countries pull out for the opening ceremony.
Yeah, as typically some local act that they've hired in. Some professionals who will actually do a good job of it, and they'll be from the Netherlands almost certainly. Something traditionally Dutch. No idea what it'll be yet. Probably some singing, probably some dancing, maybe some ninjas like we had in Korea.
That was incredible. We had these acrobats. They were flipping around. They were
breaking
kicking
wood.
wood.
Yeah.
They were dancing. That was so much fun.
And in Spain, we had these giant puppets.
Yeah.
They were running around and doing twirls on the stage.
I was sad to miss that.
We will, of course, get it all on the stream. So yeah, stay tuned in about 35 minutes for that.
I think we will get ready to wrap it up for the lunch break soon. As volunteers, we provided a lovely lunch, which is nice.
Hopefully at some time soon we'll be able to see what Kieran got. The results haven't yet been entered.
So, as it stands, we've got Timon obviously in first place with his slight improvement on his ER mean. Mark Zimmerman 10 seconds behind Timon.
Wow.
And that's a 152 mean. That's fast.
That's a very fast mean. It's not a European record, though.
And then Janos is a 200 mean. Daniel Partridge, 202. We talked about both of them being around that 2-minute barrier. Top contenders to try and sneak on a podium.
Still need to get these Group 2 results. Not sure when we'll have that. Hopefully when we get back from lunch, we'll be able to talk back about that.
All right, well, keep an eye on WCA Live if you're stressing about your mates making the final. We apologize for missing Timon's ER. We'll make sure they get the next one, although I will not make any promises.
About the results?
Yeah, I guess so.
I promise Timon will get ER in the final of 7x7 so that we can see it. Because otherwise it won't have been on stream, and that's just not on.
That is just not on.
I'll have a private word with him tonight. I'll make sure he knows that I've just promised the stream to get ER again. It looks like we are clearing off the stations now, which must surely be in preparation for what's to come. I wonder whether it will be all of the stages or whether just the blue one. Probably all of them.
Yeah, I reckon. All right, I think we're gonna go to lunch.
Yeah.
Seems like everybody else is going to lunch, so I think we'll pack it up. We'll be back. I'm not sure in how long. You can check the schedule online. You can check the stream schedule.
It's supposed to be only half an hour, but I'm hoping that will be enough for them to set up. But we are due to start at 12:45. So in the meantime, get some food, get some water, say hello to your mother, and we'll see you at the opening ceremony.
All right, have a good one.